Yeah, so I'll have to be honest. I'm for from like episode 7 to 16. I didn't write down the description of the episode of what happens, so I'm gonna need to rely on you just to remind me of what happens. I have notes on everything else though,
You know, it's
but
interesting that you say that because I noticed something similar between around episode 7, and it was maybe there were a few episodes where it was like, yeah, like episode 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, like 18, like those kind of episodes. There was kind of like a lull this season that like usually wasn't there in like the middle of the season.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, no, you know, yeah, again, it was like hit and miss with some episodes this season. I didn't notice the politics seeping into it as much as I thought it would have.
right.
It was just more of like it seemed like the writing got a little lazy, a little tired.
Yeah, that's what I noticed too. And I think it is this kind of watching through, it was like, I wonder if they're just running out of things to do. I said, particularly with Claire and Phil's storylines in a lot of episodes, they're just kind of boring. Like it's just kind of, or they're like stuff that already happened,
Yeah,
that they're like rehashing. So whatever, it's running out. The storylines are running out. It's been on almost 10 years at this point. This is season 9. And I guess we'll start. Yeah, we're back with another episode of Heavy Board.
Heavy.
Bored.
Heavy.
I am heavy, heavy, heavy.
Bored.
I may say that the male is entirely hostile. No!
You know.
Resources.
Life, friends, is boring. We must not say so.
And we are joined by Eric once again to continue the Modern Family series. Eric, welcome back to Heavy Board.
thanks for having me back. Always love doing these.
And listeners know Eric by now, regular listeners at least, new listeners welcome. And we're on season 9 now, and this is the 2017 into 2018 season, premiering on September 27th, 2017. And I encourage listeners that haven't yet to go back and listen to the full series here, so it makes more sense to you. But we're doing it with the same thesis still, where we are using Modern Family as a proxy for evaluating the major cultural shift of the last decade. So using this very popular sitcom to analyze and kind of try and point out how it started to slowly bleed into the culture with this kind of insane political hysteria, and then just kind of overtake something like a Modern Family sitcom or a popular American sitcom like this. So again, listen to the full thing, listeners, if you haven't yet. They're all up there for everyone to enjoy. But yeah, we were so season 9, we were already talking about how it kind of watched to us. There's definitely like a lull, and there were definitely instances of what I'm going to call, to be generous, of I called it this kind of, what did I say? I wrote it down towards the end. Um, I called it cheap internet quirk jokes because they weren't quite woke, but they were just kind of cheap internet quirk. And we talked about this right around season 6 and 7 into season 8, where there was just little bits of internet culture coming in. And we were trying to be fair and differentiate between, internet culture that was going to be inevitable and then like the political hysteria that we call wokeness, coming into the culture here. But yeah, I did notice the same thing you said, Eric, about not quite as woke, but still there were just little things, like little things that you could point out where it's like it's seeping into the culture here. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, and I don't know what was happening with the writers or what they were doing, if they were just, 10 years is a long time to rewriting, for the same stuff. You start running out of ideas. But But all right, we'll get into it as we get into episodes here. So, first episode, Lake Life, where we have the whole family on like a houseboat
Hmm.
doing some vacation stuff. The funniest part for me, I remember Cam in that full like Afghan
Yeah.
is pretty great. Like, and then
Covered
when
in
it like gets caught in
sunscreen.
the motor and he like gets naked and they're like blurring out his body.
Yeah, that's one thing they do a lot more of in this season is they use blurring out nudity or certain things as like more of a gag. Like it happens a number of times throughout this season. I mean, and they do it pretty well each time, but it's definitely something that they kind of keep going back to.
Yeah, like the Cam and Mitch cooking naked in the kitchen, like towards the
Yeah.
end there. Um, and in that first episode, there was Jay's storyline was funny, was probably one of the funniest parts. Um, where he's like obsessed with his legacy or something, and people were not remembering him as like the old patriarch or something.
Yeah.
Best part to me for that was that there was a Phil line, or no, a Jay line, and then a Phil Dunphy look to the camera when he's putting the sunscreen on Phil.
Mhm.
And he's just like, hey, you need help, Phil? And Phil was just like, oh, yeah. And he's like, hey, about this. And Phil's like, I know, it never happened. He's like, no, remember it. Remember these strong father-in-law hands gave you pleasure. And then, yeah, Ty Burrell has a look to the camera after that, like doesn't say anything, but has a look to the camera that, again, deserves an Emmy just on that. Because it's like, yeah, he just manages to capture those complex looks like just in a brief second where he's like embarrassed but also like kind of liking it and also is like doesn't know what to say. Like it just perfect look to the camera.
Yeah, and I love the advice he gives Mitch, and he's like, "Run towards the embarrassment," and like he's like, "Yeah, doesn't that seem like something you should write down? Met something memorable that I said? Like, great advice." And yeah, how that kind of becomes like a whole like real thing because yeah, Mitch is there, and he runs into a guy in the bait shop who works there, who I guess he went to camp with and had a crush on and
It's like his first kiss as like a boy or something, and like it was a straight boy that he kissed at camp, and I'm sure it's a common story
yeah,
for a lot of gay guys, but
and it turns out that yeah, that guy is gay also, and Mitch is confused, like, okay, wait, if you've always been gay, then why did you reject me at camp? And yeah, he starts getting really offended. That was kind of a good storyline. I mean, this episode it starts off, the season starts off pretty good. Anytime where they have them away from like their house and their original neighborhood, you know, always gives them something new to do. Alex is still with Ben, and he comes along,
yeah.
uh, and just I love the gag that is it Cam and Gloria think she's like someone that works there or something, works at the lake.
Yeah.
Still doesn't really know him.
He's been like
Uh,
staying in the same houseboat with them for like a week or whatever. Like, and to see that
yeah.
eclipse, because that was big at that time. It was like the 100-year eclipse, and everybody was like traveling to go see it.
Oh, was that a real thing?
It was
Like
a
I,
real, yeah.
okay.
There was like some 100-year eclipse, and I remember my parents are into that. So like my dad is very into stuff like that, and they like drove to like the Midwest to get like a better view with like a telescope and stuff to like see it. Because there were a few like peak viewing points or something. I mean, I remember at the time, maybe part of social media culture with that coming in, with everybody kind of traveling to see something like an eclipse, like 100-year event. We only see once in a lifetime event.
Yeah.
My only thing on the with the first episode where I was a little like, maybe they're losing it was Phil playing the guitar at the end during like the credits of that
Mm.
first episode where they're like, oh, the situational comedy stuff is resolved, and then they're kind of sitting around the boat, and Phil's just like strumming a guitar,
Oh yeah,
and
so
they're
total
saying,
is it total eclipse of the heart or something that they
yeah,
were playing? Yeah.
uh, just seemed a little odd for like the dynamic that they've been going for the last several seasons. But again, we're in season 9, and we don't want to beat them up for like stuff that's just good, that naturally happens to a show that's been on the air this long. Like, yeah, they're running out of storylines. they're maybe doing some things that are just like, what the fuck, like kind of a jump the shark thing, like we talked about last season 7, I think it was. There's
Oh
another
yeah.
that with the slippers, like just like weird stuff that they just
Mhm.
like put on Phil mostly. Like all of a sudden, Phil has all these new like hobbies and like weird things he does.
Yeah. No, they do experiment a lot with him and just like give him all the like goofy stuff. Um I did also like in the first episode how like Manny was like trying to be more masculine and he becomes this like survivalist type guy who's out there like trying to try on his new persona because they don't really give him much to do this season and he's not really even in some episodes.
Yeah.
So
I noticed Haley as well. Like during halfway through the season, Haley like just disappears and then comes back like towards the last couple episodes. Who knows why? Who knows? Scheduling, whatever. I don't know. I've heard rumors that the actress that played Haley, like a lot of young actresses and actors, got into like the party culture in LA and stuff and was like, supposedly, showing up late or something and missing like so maybe there was something like that going on. Who knows? I did see this was
because
like the lip filler season, like Haley and Alex and all have like again, this is 2017, 2018. The Instagram face and stuff with like lip fillers everywhere is like starting.
yeah, because I mean I don't know I I just know that the actress that played Haley had like two kidney transplants
Mm,
during the run of the show. I don't
maybe it was
know
that. Yeah.
if it was because of partying or she started partying. I don't know. She started
Right.
partying after that. That's kind of weird, but
Or maybe a
yeah,
condition that partying exacerbated and made worse or something or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah. That's
Kidneys are
crazy.
sensitive. Yeah. Yeah. Crazy. So maybe something like that. Yeah, you never know what happens. It's a huge cast, so you don't really miss her that much. You
Yeah,
still have all the other stuff. But as far as premieres go, especially compared to the previous season, I was like, okay, this is a decent premiere. And like you said, it really works with them being in like a vacation setting with the whole family crammed into like a vacation house or something or a
yeah. Because like
resort.
last season when they were in New York, it's like they kept them in New York for part of the episode when they should have just like done the whole episode, like give us a complete New York episode rather than just like make it this zany. The plot doesn't really make sense. It's kind of jumbled together. This was like this was a lot better.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, Episode 2, The Long Goodbye, which again I expected a little bit of a spoof.
Mhm.
But whatever, they've always kind of taken classic Hollywood stuff and famous literary references and things. They've already been doing that. The whole series. This is where we like Haley is just kind of a waitress now until halfway through the season. I was
Yeah.
also like very millennial. I mean, it was a very millennial thing, college dropout kind of.
Well,
Everyone's
she
like
was.
high school dropout, but millennials are all college dropouts. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, Kanye.
It's sort of like they just dropped the whole she's a social media influencer storyline, and now she just becomes a cart girl with Luke at the country club.
Yeah.
Um,
Which you can clean up doing, yeah, but
then we get Vanessa Williams in this episode. Haley makes friends with her, and she's kind of a gold digger. So she helps Vanessa Williams look for old men to hit
oh
on.
right, right.
Um, and
And
there's
we
a
had
there's a great they do the great devil and angel with uh, Haley, whether she should work with Vanessa Williams or not. And there's like I think Luke is the angel on one shoulder, and they have like is it Vanessa Williams on the other? And they're like talking, and I don't know. It's a great like juxtaposition.
yeah, that almost always works in a sitcom too. Like they've done it, I think they did it like season 4 or 5 in that Halloween episode with like the costumes with like Manny
Yeah.
and Luke and I think it was Manny or somebody having like an indecision and like the devil and angel were on his
Mhm.
shoulder. Like
And
it
they
just
did they
always works. Yeah.
they did it one other time too. I forget what it was, but yeah, they've done it a couple times, and yeah, you can always keep going back to that, and it's good.
The Manny dorm room bit I thought was pretty good. again, there's with Manny, we've talked about it before. Listeners, go back and listen. Where there's just like it seemed like depending on who was writing Manny each season, and it's television, so everybody works on everything. They say that these are the pre-credited writers, but they take turns because everybody's just working on everything in the writers' room. But I thought like his dorm room bit was like more of like the Manny ethos, where like everybody's weirded out because he's like keeping it super neat and he has this fancy espresso machine and he's like
Mhm.
talking to them about like he's like, I'll tell you what. He's like, our dorm room's gonna be the best one on the block. And he's like dusting the desk and stuff, and like he goes through like roommate after roommate. They just keep leaving because they
Yeah,
don't want to be with Manny, which I thought was a great kind of use of again kind of the Manny ethos. He's this strange kid that like really likes the finer things, loves art and theater and literature and stuff, and is like super neat and like loves to press his suits and things.
yeah, and
And
he's
yeah,
a
it's like a
theater
weird
major.
kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a weird kid in this like, not a normal kid, not a normal teen, not a normal college student. So I like when they actually like use that as a bit
Hmm.
and it worked. Yeah. And also, I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff anyway, dude, but a touching ending with Manny and Jay and Gloria and Joe in like the dorm room,
Hmm.
which I always appreciate, again, kind of a pro family ending there. Like, yeah, all this kind of, oh, your family, they give you a hard time, but like, there's always that kind of making up at the end, like, oh, we love each other, like that type of message. You and I talked about this when we were last dinner we were drinking and talking about Spielberg
Hmm.
and all how great Spielberg is and how he's like so good that he's just like people forget that like he was like literally one of the best directors to ever live. He always managed to do that. That's what made him so good is he always managed to, no matter how violent or whatever was happening, he could bring it back to this kind of made you feel happy by the time you left the theater, the time you get to the end of whatever happened in the movie, even if it's like a scary movie or something, like it just always, there's a magic to that I just appreciate. So I like when a family sitcom like this tries to do it, capture that little thing that makes us feel that way.
Yeah, and they always throw a joke at the end.
Yeah.
Or they, most of the time they do. So yeah, that's always good because there's a joke at the end of that moment, I think, whereas like his new roommate comes in and like sees the family there and like, yeah, just turns around.
Yeah, they're all like hugging and crying. He's like, I love you guys. And then the roommate comes in and just turns around and leaves. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
That was like his fourth or fifth one by that point. They keep requesting to change when they move in. Unfortunately, they also carry over Pam from the previous season, so that storyline lasts for like most of this season. Pam is living
Yeah.
above Cam and Mitch with her bastard child, and
She's not really in it. Like she pops in and out, every few episodes. So they kind of forget, they forget about her for, sometimes. But this was episode two is also the episode which it lasts for, I guess, a few episodes where Cam and Mitch's kitchen burned down.
yeah, it like keeps burning down. It like burns down three times, and like the whole season, which is it's funny, yeah. And they're trying to figure out who burned the kitchen down, and it was like they both think it was like them, but they're trying to blame the other person.
Yeah, and it really was Mitch, I guess.
Yeah, it's like the faulty blender or something, like
Yeah.
sparks, like the cord is like frayed and sparks. That's a good bit. Classic kind of sitcom too, with the bickering. Although sometimes I'll get to that where some of those that lull in the middle of it, there were like two or three episodes back to back where there was the storyline was kind of overly complex, and then it involved a bunch of like explaining to like get to the joke, and those episodes just don't hold up. Even just 6, 7 years later, we're looking at this.
Yeah.
Shit, this is almost 9 years later. I mean, shit, 2017 to 2018 here. It just yeah, I will get to those. Like the one I'm thinking of is the one where they're in the house with Haley's boss's like beach house or whatever, wine Sonoma house or something in wine country, California.
Yeah.
Uh, like something like that where there's some still some great bits, but then like the ending kind of gets ruined because it has to be all this explaining, and there's no like logical way for the characters to find out what the other character was hiding from them, but somehow they're just kind of again kind of that weak internet quirk kind of writing that comes into it here.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. Episode 3, Catch of the Day. My favorite part of this was Phil's underwear prophecy.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's the start.
yeah.
Yeah, and again, they use the sensor when he's tossing his underwear up with his leg. They use the sensor for the rest of him. So yeah, again, 3 episodes in, we got two nudity sensors.
And I was dying at Gilthorpe on the driving range at the end. When Phil's trying to run through the driving range, and he's like, "Oh my God, it's Dumpy!" And he's like giving people, he's like, $50 anybody who hits him. And
Yeah.
he's just start like pelting him with golf balls. I think that's the only time Gil shows up in this whole season, and it's just for that little bit, like in that like end of that episode. He's in there for like 2 seconds.
And I also love how Claire and Phil had to go to a Steely Dan concert, and the
Right.
concert starts at 3 p.m. And Claire's like, yeah, they are not young anymore.
That's that's a huge part of this season is the Claire and Phil storylines. Almost all of them involve Claire and Phil like fearing getting older, or like we're not old, we're still hip and cool and blah blah. Like I think it's on that Lake Life, right, where they get the old person pamphlet and like just like
Yeah.
Jay and Gloria got, and like the kids got like the fun activity pamphlet.
Yeah.
And then like she and Claire and Phil are like, oh, we're gonna do some of the kids stuff, and then they're just like, like exhausted, their body hurts. Like, yeah, maybe we should just do the hiking scenic old people stuff. But yeah, Phil's underwear prophecy is great. It's also very Phil, like something that like goofy that like Phil and his dad or something like would do, so it like fits.
Yeah.
It's not like out of left field like some of the things like his bear slippers that come up later.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Also, this is the episode where they think Pam is a phone sex operator.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Or well, they find out she is, but they think she's like having sex, I guess, in the room next to her or next to them. But yeah, they find out she's a phone sex operator. Um, and oh yeah, Cam is upset because uh, the contractor only like really respects Mitch and listens to what he's saying about the kitchen remodeling.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The contractor, and they're like, why do you call him boss? It's like that same kind of who's the male, who's the female in the gay relationship kind of, that's been always usually pretty funny with Cam and Mitch throughout all 9 seasons here. Like that's always, again, a kind of an evergreen joke that you could kind of throw in there.
Hmm.
Maybe the wedding cake topper might have been the best one they ever did, but it's really it works almost every time, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have that many notes for episode 3 either. What, episode 4, Sax, Lies, and Kickball? Uh, where I guess we have a little bit of the Sax, Lies, and videotape spoof, like a little bit. But again, I was
Mhm.
expecting a little bit more with a title like that, but still, whatever. Shorty is back for one episode.
Yeah, yeah, no, and that plot line's funny. And the sex paints, I think the sex
Yes,
paints plot is like probably the best one. Just yeah, Phil and Claire trying to like spice up their love life with some sort of like like I guess you get naked and you put on paint and roll around.
yes,
There's some sort of weird new agey thing that embracing your kink stuff is happening
yes,
around this
exactly.
time. Yeah.
Dude, that's exactly what I thought, the same thing. And the way it's used in that show too to be like a weapon, where
Hmm.
like Alex is trying to weaponize that against her mother and father.
Yeah.
Like she and Ben have sex with the paints and like leave them to canvas. I was like, yes, this is the kind of the quirky internet sex game, sex therapy. Like, oh, you're a married couple, so you must be bored and blah blah blah, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. So you gotta like really try some like crazy new sex stuff to spice up your love life.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah,
stuff
like
that
it's
like,
this
no one ever did until like 10 years ago.
this and we have even there's a plot line we'll go to with the foot stuff with Alex and Luke selling like foot fetish stuff to weirdos on the internet.
Mhm.
Again, all of this weird stuff that, yes, existed before the internet, listeners, in small, very small, private niche things, but the internet just exploded all this freak shit. And again, yeah, this kind of, it's another side of the therapy culture is this sex therapy culture, this kind of,
Mhm.
let's use these different toys or let's use these sex paints or like body, edible panties, whatever it is, like the
Mhm.
weird shit that most people don't ever fucking do. Like, okay, like
Yeah.
it's like that gets to like a weird level almost for most people,
Yeah.
For me, it's always, and I'm somebody who fucking loves food, dude. Whenever there's food combined with, like, I'm just a no. Like, no. If
Yeah.
there is food involved, like, no. It is does not titillating. It's not sexy. It's gross as shit. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want food all over my body or your body or like I need no. Like, I don't want that shit.
Yeah.
Uh, I
No,
think
I
that
was
was
used
actually
to
an
that.
episode of 90 Day recently. Was it the Last Resort season two? Where they had that fake sex therapist that just like is like a reality TV
Oh
sex
yeah.
therapist girl, and she was like having them all do like body chocolate paint or whatever, and like lick it off their partner as a sex therapy thing. So
Yeah.
okay, you're in a group therapy session where everybody like it's weird, like nobody likes to do that, like except okay, some people do, and those people are usually freaks, all right, and
I mean, it's
there was
just
just a couple guys that were just like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Like, I do not want this on my body. Like, I'm gonna have to
yeah.
shower like after this.
They don't like the sticky stuff on their body, and the
Yeah,
whole thing was just like, oh, tell like put the chocolate where you want your partner to like lick you, and I mean, you could just tell them like lick me here, but no, you have to put the chocolate there. It's just all this is
yeah.
so stupid. Like you
Extra
just
steps.
cut to the
Yeah,
chase. Yeah.
extra steps. It's just, yeah, that was just the beginning of it, and it's only gotten worse. And I mean, people know what we're talking about here. There's like this. It's almost like this perversion as political identity, which isn't in the show so much. The show doesn't do it this way, but our culture has was doing it at the time. So it was leaking into the show, in that small kind of way, like we said, subtle ways that that aren't as funny as like they were at the time.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of like cosplay was, starting to become more of like a sexual fetish.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and yeah,
The Twitch streamer girls that would dress up, like this was all beginning to be very normalized and still is, with that kind of shit.
yeah.
Um, Pepper and Ronaldo are back with Nathan Lane, and Ronaldo gets more screen time than Nathan Lane in this season, but
Oh
he's
yeah.
great. I love the Ronaldo. The actor is great too. They're back with a black adopted child, which is
Mhm.
they make a funny bit out of. Yeah. Where like, he's like some black kid, so he's into like basketball, he's like wearing jerseys, and then like he lives with Pepper and Ronaldo for a little while and he's wearing tailored suits and like
Mhm.
eating caviar and like speaking properly and then like being like, I love this life. Like, he's like it's way better than my like pre-adoption life.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I think Mitch makes a joke like, "Oh, he's a little black pepper," and just like, yeah, because he acts just like Pepper, and he's yeah. I guess the name of their son Lionel too is yeah,
and Pepper eating the Cheeto. I mean, only Nathan Lane could have made that as funny as it is.
yeah,
He like doesn't want to eat the Cheeto and he like takes a bite and then like spits it out like immediately. It's like a Gordon Ramsay style. Like it's just so funny. Um, Way too much Ben in this season. I wrote that down on episode by the time we were at episode four, and like there was
yeah.
way too much screen time for Ben and Alex.
Yeah,
Um,
I did find it funny when they get into to the confrontation about talking about the sex paints and stuff with
yeah,
Fred and Claire. He just like hides in his hoodie. He does like this autistic thing of just like yeah, pulling his zipper up, around him and just like hiding in it.
and it's funny because the joke is he's constantly talking about his ailments, his allergies and stuff, but like that annoys everybody. Even the super nerd Alex is annoyed by how like, nerdy he is. So
Yeah.
the joke is still at this point that like these uber nerds like constantly talking about like their sinuses and stuff
Mhm.
like is still like super uncool and boring and nobody wants to hear that like about your sinuses. But like I don't know, the internet culture of over explaining, the confessional kind of, oh, I did this naughty thing, haha, like kind of that's just became such a part of the culture, still is a part of the culture.
Mhm.
that I was just like, yeah, Ben is a little too much. It worked best when that character was in small doses, and I liked the actor even the way he played it, like just in small little doses where he just pop up as Claire's assistant or yeah, like a little thing, and he'd have
Yeah.
a little one-liner or something. But they do away with him after I think like 3 or 4 episodes. Uh,
Yeah. And I think again, Manny wasn't really in the last episode because he's supposed to be, away at college. And in this episode, he appears like right at the end when Gloria visits him in his dorm, and she's giving him a hug, and everyone, a guy passes by and just like thinks that it's his girlfriend or something, and gives him a thumbs up. And Manny's
yeah,
like, actually, you could stop by, more often if you
yeah.
want, which is just, again, one of those weird things where it's like, you want people to think that your mom is your girlfriend because
They
she
do
looks
play
like
that up. They
somebody her
play it up
father.
now that Manny's like an adult trying to have relationships, like in college. They play
Mhm.
up the kind of mama's boy. He's kind of damaged from having this like super hot mom that like babied him his whole life and like indulged all of his stuff. And oh,
Yeah.
that's, they start to play that up, which is again part of therapy culture, right? Like this kind of, oh, he
Mhm.
must be psychologically damaged from having a mother that loved him so much and she was too hot and like, like kind of, yeah, shit like that. But it works for Manny's kind of role in this. Another thing I noticed, and this is small thing, but still it's just kind of creeping in. Jay, they keep saying, is too old to say he has a best friend, and that it's Chaz Palmieri with playing Shorty. And they mentioned it a few times where he's like, he's my best
Yeah.
friend. Like, aren't you a little old to say best friend, like to use that phrase? And I'm just, what?
Yeah.
Like, that's an internet culture thing coming in.
I
Like
mean,
as,
it wasn't, I don't even know if it was so much even old. Like Gloria was saying, like she thinks it's like, she seemed to say it was like a little like feminine. Like
right.
she's like, men don't have best friends. And then when Shorty and Jay are hugging at the end, he's like, Jay says, "You're my best friend, Shorty." And then he's
Yeah.
like, "Okay, I kind of hear it now." And so it's sort of, he hears that it sounds feminine or something. I don't know. Yeah, that was weird because yeah, that was never a stereotype I
Ever
ever.
heard in my life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, well, I think it's important because it's not it's again it's subtle. It's still comedy first. I don't want to overemphasize it like I've been saying this whole time, listeners, because the beauty of art is doing something like this subtly, but I think it's more so just the culture was seeping in. And Alex really does become this kind of feminist figure. And again, this is kind of the explosion post the Hillary loss. I'm with her thing with the kind of very Me Too. All of this was exploding, which, you know, I'm surprised that they didn't indulge it more in the writers'
yeah.
room, and I'm actually give props to Steve Levitan and Christopher Lloyd for not. Like, I wonder. I'm sure there was a conscious like, come on, we got to do it better than this. That's too easy,
Mhm.
in the writers' room with those guys running it. So I imagine they probably gave back a lot of bits that were like rewrite it. Like it's too heavily relying on the political or the social media timeline or whatever it is. And it was just one of those things where it's just this really subtle thing that is really ingrained in particularly second and third wave feminism into what they say we're in a fourth wave now. Maybe we are with just men not sharing their emotions. But if you share your emotions, you will be chastised for it. Like, and Jay is always kind of fitting that role because of him being the old straight white man and all of that.
Mhm.
So I just another one again, very subtle. That doesn't make or break the episode. It still works as a joke for the most part, but it's just like, it's there. It's all of a sudden, oh, you're saying best friend. It sounds a little gay. Sounds a
Yeah.
little feminine. It sounds like, and then that's still used. And this kind of thing, if you express yourself in a certain way, like gay, you're gay. And like even feminist women will tell you this.
Yeah.
If
And
you're
I mean,
expressing too much emotion or something about, I really love this guy, he's my best friend, like, and like, oh, gay.
yeah, and I mean what was more gay in that episode was like it was him and Shorty going to see Wicked
Yeah.
together,
And
like at a
Shorty's like singing the
theater.
songs, looking at
Yeah.
him, like waiting for him to enjoy it. And, Jay doesn't enjoy it at all.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah. So I mean that was funny. But yeah, no, I think the feminism does creep in a little bit to the extent where they try to really balance out. Alex and Haley's characters by giving them boyfriends that are like the opposite. So it's
Right.
like we know that Haley's she has like she's the typical like feminine girl, just like looks and um,
If you
social
grew up
stuff.
in SoCal, you know that type, the party LA girl that yeah.
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 She's got everything going on as far as like looks and being sociable, but she's dumb as bricks. So they give her a smart boyfriend, like a super smart boyfriend to
Yeah, not
show
just
that,
smart,
oh,
but like literally one of the smartest people alive, boyfriend.
yeah.
That's what they give her. Like literal genius like boyfriend.
Yeah, to show like, oh, like it sort of attaches an intelligence onto her. The fact that someone so intelligent finds her
She's
attractive
emotionally
elevates her.
intelligent.
Yeah,
Emotionally intelligent.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
All these
then
different intelligence. Your verbal intelligence, your emotional intelligence.
mhm. And they for Alex, they give her this like dumb, like handsome, rugged firefighter guy to show like, oh no, she does have appeal to like, basic like average, human beings, average men. She's not just like some brainiac. So by attaching those boyfriends to them, they kind of round out the characters and to show them like, oh, this is like the complete woman. And that's kind of where the feminism came in. It's like they really did try to change the audience's perception of those characters,
Right.
which, I mean, I'm not going to say it's a bad thing, but is definitely happening because of what was going on
Right.
politically at that time.
And culturally, the timelines, if like, everybody denies that, like, oh, you're too online. Everybody's online now. And everybody's been online for years. Like, I mean, it's been a decade. The reason this happened is because everybody's too online. Like, like the reason that
Yeah.
this cultural shift even happened is because everybody's online, baby boomers, I don't care how old, like everybody is online, checking Facebook every day, checking Instagram, checking YouTube, like all of these things, all the social platforms, everybody uses them. It's rare. Some people, of course, not everybody. Like you'll find one or two freaks every once in a while. It's like, oh, I don't use social media. But then you talk to them and you learn, oh yeah, they still use YouTube. They still use like check Reddit, and like there's still like all these things that we don't think is social media, but work as social media still. Your
Yeah, no,
YouTube
I mean,
feed and
I talked about that with my dad, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't go on social media." And it's like, "Well, you checked Facebook the other day," you said, and it's like,
yeah,
"Oh, well, I go on Facebook," and it's like,
right.
"Okay, well, then
And I
you're on
watch
social
YouTube
media."
every day, but
Yeah,
and they just feed me videos like it's social, and it always matches with what I was scrolling on my other
yeah, it matches
apps.
your algorithm, feeds you more stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just everybody's online, so that's just happening. Uh, do we miss anything for episode 4?
Uh, no, I think yeah, that's about it.
Uh,
Yeah.
uh, but you pointing out the Alex thing and Alex and Haley thing, it'll keep coming out, listeners, because it becomes a big part of the story eventually. But I think you're absolutely right. But it's also that thing about how everybody's afraid to be dumb. Everybody's afraid to not be a fucking genius. Like we're all geniuses, kind of.
Yeah.
That's part of the millennial internet culture. And that comes up a lot, particularly when that kind of, Haley's genius quantum physics boyfriend or whatever, like, Nobel laureate, is like, comes in. But yeah, that's gonna come up because, dude, there's several episodes where that's like the entire plot line. Is
Yeah.
that especially that escape room one and stuff?
Mhm.
Yeah, but episode 5, it's the Great Pumpkin, Phil Dunphy, kind of a surprisingly weak Halloween episode for them, where they
Yeah.
usually go all out for the Halloween episode, particularly because it's like Phil and Claire are like super into Halloween, like adults that are super into it
Mhm.
and have been all 8 seasons previous. This one, there's a line that Claire says to Alex and Haley that I just thought summed up this episode, where she's like, well, there's plenty of grown-up ways to enjoy Halloween. Grown-up ways to enjoy Halloween. Like, as she says to her adult grown children, like in their
Yeah.
20s, like kind of like, okay, as if they
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. Again, this was still like this revival of Halloween being for adults, um, and where adults are more into it than children are, which is like the case today, I think. And that was
Yeah,
never, when I was growing up, like yeah, adults would kind of put on a costume or whatever, maybe if they had kids. But it was never, very few like adult Halloween parties. Now it's like all the time.
Dude, I have a neighbor that every Halloween he puts up this huge, like 12-foot Jack Skellington thing in his yard. And it's like so obnoxious and huge. And it actually has voice stuff, like says the lines from the movie. And then he leaves it up through Christmas and he puts on the Christmas, like the Santa hat and the beard on him, like Jack Skellington in the movie. So he just leaves it up from Halloween through Christmas. And
My
it's like this
God.
huge thing towering over his fence. Like it's just this monstrosity.
I hate the blending of Halloween and Christmas. I it really, yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas really did a number on some people, man.
Dude, the Hot Topic millennials got one-shotted by the
That
T.
was
Yeah.
yes, yeah, like yeah, or yeah, being goth is just like something really cool now and like stylish and like whereas before, like I mean, it's like every goth person was like a freak, but now it's like
Yeah.
they're considered a freak, but like in a good way, like it's become very pop culture, very mainstream.
And like the cynicism, the
Hmm.
internet culture cynicism, like Claire does that elaborate prank on her employees by having these like actors come in full zombie mode and they're all like rolling their eyes and stuff, which is kind of funny, but also like, man, yeah, like the cynicism type thing
Yeah,
around it, like grown-up ways to enjoy Halloween, but also like nobody wants like the pranks or anything, right? Like the trick or treat, right? Like that's the whole thing. Trick or treat, like, right?
yeah,
Like, you know.
yeah. I guess yeah. Phil, his neighbors like toilet paper his the trees in their yard. And he's like, oh, no, that's cool. That's what you're supposed to do. Halloween's one of the four biggest prank days of the year, followed by April Fools, the day before April Fool, and the day before April Fools. And the mom is like, well, what's the fourth day? And Phil's like, nice try. Like, like I'm
Yeah.
not going to tell you, which I was a great Phil line. I mean, he's always been the type of guy that would be keeping track of prank days and keeping one day a secret because he's into it fits his whole magic uh vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. And he like, because, and then they try to make it about how he and Claire are kind of missing the little kid part of it because their kids
Mhm.
are all grown. So Phil gets into like this prank war with those like little boy neighbors. And the mother is like horrified because she's like, I'm trying to teach them a lesson here. And he's just like, prank war is on, boys. And they're like all excited, like, yes. And she's like, okay,
Yeah,
we're that's not what I brought him over here for. And also, I just thought like the Great Pumpkin thing. I was like, oh, this is gonna be great, but it was just kind of weak with the big pumpkin and Phil.
yeah.
Uh,
We get Jay takes over the construction project on Ken and
right.
Mitch's kitchen. um then yeah, he finishes it, does a nice job. They put on a stained glass window, and I guess the sun shines through it the right way to where like it catches something on fire and the kitchen burns down again. So, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, all right, they're back to square one.
Yeah.
And
It's a great how that burns down too.
yeah. And Alex breaks up with Ben in this episode.
Yeah. Thank God.
So they finally, yeah, rid of him. And he admits that he like cheated on her with his ex-girlfriend.
Yeah. That's one thing that I guess they try to do a little bit this season is they try to break Alex a little bit, whereas Alex is usually always right and always kind of smarter and ahead of the game for compared to everybody else. But like in this season, they kind of break her a little bit. Things aren't working out, right? Like Haley steals her the man she likes and stuff, like, which is good. That needed to happen. There's always a lot of sitcoms make that mistake. I always think of that Silicon Valley with Mike Judge, that HBO sitcom.
Mhm.
Guilfoyle in that, who's funny. They never break him. They need to like break him a little bit, but he never does, and it kind of gets less funny because of that. He's always this kind of too cool for school character that never blows up in his face ever.
Wait, was that the is that the main character? Or is that T.J. Miller's character?
Neither. It's the
Right.
ponytail beard guy who talks like this.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah, he's like, I'm Guilfoyle.
Okay.
I'm a
Yeah.
coder and I mine Bitcoin and
The guy
everything's
from
always
Freaks and Geeks. Yeah, I
yeah.
forget
And
his
I guess he
name.
was in that catering show.
Oh, yeah, with Adam Scott.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. No, yeah.
Again, funny character in the show, but yeah, just little things like that where like, yo, if you just had him break a little bit instead of
Mhm.
always having Dinesh be the loser. But that was funny too with what's his face, Camille Nanjiani, his claim to
Mhm.
fame.
Mhm.
He was great in that. Uh, but yeah, I was a little disappointed in Halloween, and I also noticed they skipped Christmas this season too.
Yeah.
No Christmas episode,
Yeah.
but we'll get to that. Yeah. Uh, episode 6, 10 years later. We have Jay and Gloria's wedding anniversary. They're like 10-year wedding anniversary because when the show starts, not started 9 years ago. I think they were supposed to have been married for like 6 months or something. So now
Mhm.
it's almost like 10 years. They're doing the 10-year anniversary. And we learn that Phil's magic career was destroyed by Claire. And I was just like, yeah, they're really digging for Claire and Phil storylines this season. That was my
Mhm.
note.
Yeah, this is when Phil um he finds out he was supposed to inherit this like magic shop, but Claire hid the call from him. But in the end, she ends up buying the shop for him to run, which they bring back once really, and they kind of mention it throughout the season, but it's not really uh, it's not really any sort of main plot line anymore, except one other time.
And
Yeah.
he's still selling houses and stuff. So this is like a side project for him. So he's running a brick and mortar store in
Yeah.
2017 and 2018 when they're all failing and still being a successful realtor too. But whatever, it's a it's a show. You can
Yeah.
do these weird things. But yeah, it just and that comes up like oh, his magic career like it was destroyed and he like hates Claire and Jay for it or something. Uh
The this Mitchell scatting at the wedding.
yes.
That's the fun. I mean, yeah, that's the funniest part. Just uh, he's trying to scat and it just does not go over well. Yeah, it's very that one that made me laugh a lot. Or not the wedding, the anniversary party. I mean, yeah.
Still it was like one thing I noticed about that, which was, yeah, it was funny. Kim and Mitch really had great plot lines this whole series, this whole season.
Hmm.
They were always pretty funny. But the one thing, again, this kind of therapy culture, right? At that thing, Mitch is like scatting, doing the song, and he like gives everybody a solo, but Cam. So Cam gets mad at Mitch for not letting him have his drum solo. But what makes it okay, as they like talk about it after, is that Mitch felt free in front of his family finally.
Hmm.
And that's what made it okay. Like, and I was just kind of like, okay, this is again that therapy culture is like I felt free for the first time in front of my family, like by not letting you have your drum solo during this thing. Like, I was
Hmm.
like, okay,
No, they do a lot with Mitch, always like working out past issues with his parents or uh coming, coming out of the closet like for the first time and having to work past like how people reacted to it. And yeah, they do constantly bring that up to where he's always like going through some sort of trauma, whether it's with Jay or with Dee Dee who comes in for an episode. There's always something
yeah.
that's traumatic that he has to get over.
I will say that studio audience gag is hilarious though, as they're like talking at the table and like Gloria's family from like Colombia is like watching it like it's like a Spanish soap opera or something.
Yeah.
And like they're reacting like when they hug, they're like, oh, and like they keep looking over. They're like watching it like it's a soap opera. That was funny. Um, but yeah, Phil's Magic Shop. I was like, what the fuck? Phil's
Yeah.
Magic Shop. All right,
Yeah.
I guess we'll run with this.
Um, And oh, I see. At the end of that episode, they were doing like a Bill Cosby scat like parody, right?
I think
The
so,
Bill Cosby
yeah.
show, yeah. Which this was, I guess, right before the
The
Cosby stuff.
Cosby, and even if it was, I think it might have been right around this time, and they probably would have written the episode before then, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they would have taken it out if it had if that stuff had come out before this. I think they just
Yeah.
would, yeah, cut it. But yeah, I thought that was funny. Yeah, a little Cosby show tribute at the end with all the characters doing some weird like uh Cosby show theme song type scat.
Bill Cosby, dude.
Mhm.
Oh man. Oh man. Yeah, I'd already forgotten about the Bill Cosby stuff, but yeah. Man, Bill Cosby, dude, that happening, he was just so famous and so huge. And I remember reading like his children's books when I was a kid. He had, like those little Bill books
Oh yeah.
and stuff that like he would write. And it was just, they were good. Like, it was just, yeah, damn. And this guy just like raped as a hobby, like date raped as a hobby. It's crazy.
Mhm.
Also in this episode, the Lily singing, like being terrible at singing. That's been
Oh
like a
yeah.
running gag in this, but also it's like, yeah, she's terrible at that. And that actress is oof, rough.
Yeah, again, they try to give her some funny lines, but she cannot deliver them. It's just one note. Like,
And it's
yeah.
so monotone, and you're like, just to be that child actor
Mhm.
surrounded by all the other child actors that she was working with, including that little kid Joe, who does it pretty well.
Yeah.
Uh, Doing all of that around all of these Emmy-winning actors, and this woman's like, "Oh, like just delivering every line in that tone." I'm just like, man, and you're standing next to like Eric Stone Street
Yeah.
as you're delivering that line, and he's like dressed in like sequins, like doing his cam thing, and you're like, "That's the best you can do, honey."
Yeah. I'm always
Uh,
wondering how many takes did they do with her where they're just like, okay,
right, and
I
everyone's like,
guess
"Oh,
that's
good
the best
job,
one we're
honey.
gonna
Yeah,
get. Yeah.
good job. Cut it. Yeah,
Yeah, so monotone.
yeah." Uh, But they use her a little less this season too, probably because of that. But
Yeah. Because Joe is a little bit better.
yeah, so Joe gets a lot of one-liners, a lot of jokes. He even have Joe in confessional cams now.
Mhm.
So Joe is doing his own kind of confessional cams. Uh Episode 7 is Winner Winner Turkey Dinner, and that's the Thanksgiving episode for this season. Not that much emphasis on Thanksgiving apart from the Thanksgiving story, and here's where the kind of the woke revision of the Thanksgiving story, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
But before that, we have just a mention of, oh, right, that not even a mention, it's that Cam is coaching a big game against a female coach, a female
Yeah.
football coach. And this is the time of the female referees and coaches in the NFL and all of that, like being like a thing.
Mhm.
I noticed that a lot of them aren't around anymore. I'm pretty sure, I think it was like at this time, I think Bruce Arians, he like hired like a linebacker coach. She was a woman. I'm not sure if she's still coaching in the league, but like I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure she's not. And it's just, yeah, just things like that were starting to happen. Uh,
And this was the episode where I think Jay, again, they say this happens every Thanksgiving, where he announces like his favorite family member that accomplished the most or something. Like it's some tradition, but we've never seen it until now.
right.
Okay. But then he just says he's proud of all of them and starts listing off their accomplishments. And it turns out that none of them really like did any of that. Um, like honestly, there's the good one. The one I liked the most was Mitch fending off the burglar. That there never was one. Um,
Right. They're all lying about their accomplishments.
yeah. Oh, and the other one was Gloria has this challenge where she's trying to get in 1,000 steps a day, 1,000. And I had to go back and rewind it to make sure they said 1,000 because they were talking like, oh, she has to constantly be moving in order to get 1,000 steps a day. Like I do that like just like in the first hour of waking up. Like 1,000 steps is nothing.
Yeah.
They make it seem like this incredibly hard challenge, that's where I didn't understand. Like, did no one check this at all to see if it made sense? Like,
And I also little nostalgia thing where it was a physical step counter. It wasn't like a
mhm,
smartwatch doing it or something. There was that brief moment. It's like the Garmin GPS right
mhm,
before it became a part of like your phone and your smartwatch and all of that. It was like a brief window where people were, yeah, buying Garmin GPSs or like, yeah, buying like a step counter and putting it on their waist, like a little beeper.
yeah,
So like, and it like sensed the hip motion or whatever. Yeah. So
yeah,
like, that was like a thing. So it's like, of course, in the culture and in the show. But dude, and even this, Cam feels bad for winning the game.
mhm,
Like all of this stuff was like coming. I'm like, oh, Cam feels bad for winning because his radio caught the play, which I thought was a funny bit.
yeah,
They just like cut to like the team holding him up after whatever they won, like because he heard the play. Uh, there's also a little double click reference with Jay.
yeah, yeah.
Very brief, but it's referring back to I think 2 seasons ago, a little Easter egg. He's like double
Yeah.
click, and he's like on his phone, like doing 2 clicks.
Then he said, "Damn it," because
Yeah.
he still can't figure out how to double click.
And this is where I noticed the Thanksgiving story. And it's Joe telling the Thanksgiving story,
Mhm,
but he tells it in this way that is so kind of I wrote it as it's revised in a way that a woke person thinks an old white guy like Jay would think. Like it's like
mhm,
this weird revision thing, which is what the problem is with a lot of wokeness, where there's this kind of revision where they're like, oh, well, this is how a person that doesn't think that isn't woke would think about it.
mhm,
That like of the Thanksgiving story, where like, Joe tells the version of where it's like this conquering thing, blah, 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 like kind of that it wasn't this stricken disease thing where there was a lot of trade and going back and forth. It's supposed to symbolize a harmonic thing.
mhm,
But yeah, so there's some things like that propping up as creeping up as well. Just yeah, I'm like, I was one, they have Joe doing it. So, it's this little kid doing it. So, he can't even speak that well yet. But then I was just like, man, this is like what a woke person thinks some old rich guy like Jay in the fictional version of that in the show would think of Thanksgiving, that it's this great conquering thing. And maybe they do. Maybe there's a bunch of people out there that think of Thanksgiving in that way.
mhm,
I don't know, because like Jay's all upset that there's like, vegan turkey or something at like his kids' like reenactment, little kid reenactment plays or whatever they do around this
mhm,
time. Uh, just weak, just a little weak. Especially as far as like some of they've had some great Thanksgiving episodes in this series too, and just yeah, I was just like, man, and this one is just them like doing this lie to each other thing, and that's a common thing where it's so much going on. There's so many different lies that you have to keep track of, and there's really no way for anybody to find out. But then somehow all the characters do, and they're like around the table, and it's just this kind of talking. Regular listeners to this will know that I talk about this sometimes with kind of very old detective stories. There was a point in the 50s into the 60s, kind of that pulp fiction stuff, where it went away from that. But if you read those old ones like Raymond Chandler and stuff, like there's a point where the case is solved, but the detective kind of does this long monologue explaining how they got there, and everything that happened. Kind of an old-fashioned way to do it, and that worked in like the 20s and 30s, but then like into the 40s, but then around the 50s, all the writers started doing just not that, not this kind of ending where everything's explained, but more of a literary style where like it's implied or you don't have to explain everything. That became more common. And I was thinking it's applying that to sitcom writing where things just start getting explained to the point where it starts to lose the logic chain. You lose the joke then because yes, it can be random and it can be hilarious, but it's also like you still have to give the audience that chain of logic to be like, wait a minute, how did Cam know this about if nobody told him, he just guessed it right, like, and just a little weak, a little weak. Not the end of the world, but I was like a little weak. And this was also the episode where Phil's doing that weird magic trick of like in the phone booth with the World War II
Oh,
uniform.
yes. Yeah.
And he just has a great line where he's like, come on, hippies. And he like says it like a couple of times. I wrote
Yeah.
that down as a Phil line. And he like performs the trick and everyone's amazed. And then they just cut to him in a confessional cam. He's like, come on, hippies.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be some like army soldier trapped in the phone booth or something like that. It's supposed
Yeah.
to be like the setup for it. Yeah.
As it fills with water. And it's like specifically a British phone booth
Yeah.
that I guess they did away with. There's only a few of those left now, supposedly. I get it. You don't really need public payphones like that anymore, but like it's just such an iconic part of like England and stuff to have those bright red phone booths like
Yeah. They should just
that.
leave a couple of them around
Exactly.
for
I think they
tourism.
have like I think they did leave a couple as like okay, this is England like, but I don't think they probably even took the phones out of them or something
Yeah.
like yeah. It's just like for photos now for Instagram, like they left them like, by the palace or something.
Yeah. Well,
Uh
they're all the phone booths here are taken down.
That's true. And I mean, we never had like iconic ones. They were always just that little glass box.
Yeah.
Whereas they had the nice red, very like, nobody else had phone booths like that. Yeah. Very cool. But yeah, all right, whatever. This is where it's kind of starting. Episode 8, I didn't even write down the title about this. But episode 8, I feel like, dude, we start
So
having
they,
like guest
oh,
stars coming out the ass in some of these to the point where I don't even know if they have anything to do with the guest stars. But it's like this
yeah.
one was where they have guest stars playing themselves, and that was like the thing they were doing.
Yeah. No, this is called Brushes with Celebrity.
Oh, right.
Just, yeah, very on the nose. Yeah. So, um, my favorite one with this was the Jay plot.
With Terry Bradshaw and
Yeah, he's on jury duty, and Terry Bradshaw's there, and he accidentally offends Terry Bradshaw by talking shit about fake failure to launch.
yeah,
Oh yeah, and Jay, it's Ed O'Neill's birthday today, by the way,
right.
80th birthday.
God
Um,
damn.
so yeah, this is
Here's to Ed O'Neill,
yeah.
American sitcom royalty. I
Mhm.
was on two hit sitcoms for a decade plus,
Yeah.
and iconic characters. And then, of course, I remember him very well from like movies when I was a kid, post married with like, yeah, Little Giants and stuff, like watching
Mhm.
those like with him.
Yeah,
Just
Dutch,
great.
Little Giants, yeah.
Uh, but yeah,
And
Terry
Wayne's World
Bradshaw.
too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Using that, yeah.
Terry Bradshaw guest stars as himself. Uh, and Chris Martin guest stars as himself.
Oh yes, yeah. Phil showing the house to Chris Martin.
Yeah,
I love how Phil like sewed like a patch on like some sort of weird rainbow patch onto his jeans or something to make it seem like he was like hip.
uh, yeah, and we have Billy Crystal coming at the end, guest starring
Mhm.
as himself. Even references City Slickers as he like in the monologue.
Yeah, City Slickers and Princess Bride. He does a line, and
Yeah,
he does the accent for I guess it's that character he played on SNL. Like that's marvelous. Like that character.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
It was
like
before my time when he was doing SNL stuff. Yeah.
yeah, same. So it's like I kind of know that character, but City Slickers. Yeah, that one I recognized.
City Slickers 1 and 2 because those were like his 90s like comedies that I saw when they like were out 'cause my dad was but then I just remember him like hosting the Oscars and stuff
Hmm.
or yeah like that kind of stuff but yeah Chris Martin stars as himself Phil getting emasculated again, his nuts making him pass out.
Yeah,
Uh,
Phil's in the hospital. They put Phil in the hospital a lot. It
yeah,
happens a couple times this season. Yeah,
yeah,
I think previously it was they had the vasectomy almost, and then the kidney stones, I think.
yeah.
Yeah,
And this one was just something else that they never really tell us.
it was like just in a large gonad or something. I don't
Yeah,
know. A
Chris Martin
large
putting the ice
testing.
on his nuts. That was funny.
Yeah.
He's like, I got some ice for your biscuits. He like puts it down and like lifts up the sheet and like puts it on Phil's nuts and Phil's, oh no, no. That was great.
Um, yeah, I thought it was great him singing like a song about Phil's real estate business. Uh, buy yourself a Dumpy home.
Yeah.
Dumpy, rhyming Dumpy and comfy is great. Um, but yeah, Chris Martin though, I mean, it works
Right.
okay in this episode, but yeah, what a bad actor, man.
Yeah.
I, I guess it works because it's a comedy, but yeah,
And
it's
he's
just
playing himself, so he doesn't have to like, yeah.
and he kind of is supposed to be like a little bit of a goofball. Like they're kind of portraying him as like not as cool as you would think he would be.
Right. And I would say this is the beginning with all these guest stars, Terry Bradshaw, Chris Martin, Billy Crystal, all playing themselves. This was kind of the beginning of that, again, internet culture, the nostalgia bullshit, this never-ending nostalgia train that we're on. Billy Crystal comes in and he has to do his most famous line ever, Princess Bride, have fun storming the castle.
Mhm.
He like does it. And then yeah, his like City Slicker stuff, his Terry Bradshaw stuff. It's all about like so we're talking about failure to launch. I mean, when did that movie come out? Like 20 years ago now. So at this time it would have been like a 10-year-old movie, like when they
Yeah.
were like filming this 15-year-old movie
Yeah.
uh at the time. So little random things. And it's like, Terry Bradshaw's done a lot of acting since he retired from football. Uh I always remember him from like the 10-10-220 commercials. Do you remember those for the payphone
Call-ups.
days? Yeah.
Yeah, you
There
call
was
things.
Carrot Top who would do the A ACTCT, like COLLECT. Like
Yeah.
Carrot Top used to do one company and then Terry Bradshaw used to do the 10-10-220. I just remember one where they're like on horses and they're like, man, $20. It's like, what did that give you? He's like, how about a 20-minute phone call?
Yeah, no, it's Terry Bradshaw. I grew up with him just because he was always like an announcer for, NFL.
Exactly. He was on the
But
Fox countdown.
Ed O'Neill was, Ed O'Neill was a Steelers fan because he was drafted by the Steelers before he became an actor. Now, I don't think he ever played,
Right. Very
but
common
yeah,
story. Yeah, very common story.
he was a football player. So he was drafted in like 1969.
Oh,
So who
wow.
knows? Maybe he like ran into Terry
Because
Bradshaw
Terry,
before.
was he there yet? Was Terry at the Pittsburgh yet? Because I know his big heyday was in the 70s when he won all those Super Bowls.
72. Didn't he win the Super Bowl in 72?
Yeah, they won like four with him, I think, in like the
Yeah.
70s into the 80s during his peak. But I don't know if he was there that early in 69. But still, I mean, this is very common. I had friends that did that, yeah, played ball high school all through college, got drafted late or got, signed as a free agent, like
Mhm.
undrafted free agent, and then usually got cut, because it's fucking hard to make that
Yeah.
team, it doesn't matter how good you are. Uh, there's a lot of that happens, you get cut those last cuts during training camp and it's over.
Yeah. Ed O'Neill was a defensive lineman.
Okay.
So
And
it's
that's the
probably
type of
not the
position where they
football.
usually take a couple more than they need and then cut, like, like D
Yeah.
line, they'll take like way more, like double what they need, and then they'll just like cut half of them, keep
Mhm.
the top half. Very common. I had a high school teacher that had something similar like that happen with baseball when he was like out of college. He got drafted in the minor leagues a couple years, and then nothing happened. Then he blew out his knee, kind of, and it was over. Like yeah. And he would talk about it all the time. He's like, that was my shot. Like he's like, that was my shot and it's over. Like, now I'm a teacher. But yeah.
Baseball's rough because you could just keep your hopes alive by floating through the AAA for years.
Yeah.
Getting called up once, sent back down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
It's brutal. Brutal. But I was just thinking, I was like, yeah, this is the beginning of that nostalgia stuff where like the only reason Billy Crystal's there even is for nostalgia stuff. Like,
Mhm.
uh, and I guess Gloria making that like dark writer cry or whatever it is, like
Yeah.
cafe lunch by himself because he was mean to
Yeah.
Manny. Uh, Again, this kind of and even in this episode too, it's once again Claire is insecure about her intelligence again with the book club as a proxy for like referencing, I'm smart, I read books. Again, part of this internet culture that was bubbling up. Nobody wants to be dumb, so they all pretend that they're super informed about everything all the time, whether it's foreign policy, whether it's literature, whether it's, physics when they're talking to like Alex's boyfriend or something.
Mhm.
It's just everybody's pretending to be smarter than they are, and then therefore are insecure about that because of course you would be if you're pretending to be something you're not, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but and I'm so sick of that too, dude. It's still going on today. It's not as bad as it was, during 2017, 2018, but I'm so sick of the faux, I'm so smart bullshit that like people just adopt from the internet and like copy and mimic. It just drives me crazy.
Yeah. I mean, again, this all came along with the rise of nerd culture as
Yeah.
being like the popular kids are the nerds now, right?
Yeah.
Want to be popular, you have to be smart, not good looking and athletic.
Yeah. Which, man, that we're in the middle of the fall of that right now. But
Mhm.
man, that's going to be a hard fall for that. And it's deserved, but it's like, yeah, it's going to be a hard fall considering how quickly it rose and how fast. It's going
Mhm.
to be a hard going down for those nerds as well. As the culture moves away from it. It's just like that character Ben. It's a great metaphor for it, where everybody's just kind of sick of like nobody likes know-it-alls. Like,
Yeah.
they're fucking annoying. Like Hermione Granger, like they're annoying. Like everybody's like, oh my God, like you know, uh, episode 9. Uh, this is the one where Phil is like trying to do some rugged outdoor thing, and then of course can't do it
Yeah.
because he's not only a pussy, but he's also retarded and like can't function while he's like camping or something.
Mhm.
Doesn't know how to do it anymore. Is like a man in his 40s. Um, and then they have Phil again drawing a bath to relax after that.
Mhm.
I was just like, oh, they're always feminizing Phil in this way. It usually worked as a joke when they would do it in the previous seasons, but it's almost so far now that it kind of like belittles Phil in a way that just doesn't hold up as humor as much as the first couple seasons where they did it. Where Phil was always like a little bit gay or a little bit, dorky with his magic or his trampoline, or like something like that, like little dorky, but like drawing a bath. I don't know, man. I don't know. I know very few straight guys that draw baths to relax.
Yeah. No, it's
I know
not.
I have some gay friends that do it. I know almost every woman I know does it. But like, I don't know. For me, it's never just like, oh man, I want to relax. I'm going to draw a bath. Like, it just never comes into my head. I'm like, why would I do that? Like, I'm like, no. Uh, but and then we also have in this dude Manny worried about his age gap relationship with his professor.
Yeah. No, it was, yeah, that was weird because we didn't really see too much of Manny. I think this is the first one where he makes like a big comeback as like being part of like one of the main plots of the show, where you actually get to see him. And yeah, he brings over his teacher that he's going out with. Um, yeah, I love how Gloria gets jealous because, of course.
But also, like, I just, of course they do it this way,
Yeah.
where an 18, 19-year-old boy literally banging his hot professor
Mhm.
is suddenly, I'm worried about the age gap. No, he isn't. Like,
No.
no, he isn't. Like, I'm worried about the age gap, Jay. She's too old for me.
Yeah. No, yeah, men aren't worried about the age.
Oh man, it's definitely not a hot fantasy. It's an age gap that's problematic. But notice they don't do the same thing with Alex when she's interested in her genius professor. It's just Manny that
Yeah.
feels weird about the age gap. Uh, again, internet culture, woke culture, this obsession with age gap relationships. Again, very subtle because it's only one part of this 22-minute episode with the Manny storyline, but still.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't have too many more notes on that one.
Oh yeah, we do learn in this episode. So Phil admits that he hasn't told Claire that I guess that real estate firm that he became partners with, they let him go because he's not aggressive enough
Right.
as a real estate agent. So, this is the beginning of, I guess why they kind of give him his own magic shop. Um, but, he ends up just going out on his own and starting his own real estate company.
Right.
So again, there's a lot of stuff we see that's talked about that's going on behind the scenes, but we don't actually see it. Like we don't
Yeah.
really see Phil at work anymore like we used to.
There's
We
just
see a
that
lot of
one,
Claire.
there's that one gag with him and Gloria with that like client that thinks the house is haunted.
Yes.
That's like the only time we see him working in real estate. Whereas before there'd always be at least one per season where he's like trying to sell a house or something, and it's like he can't because it's like a tough one to sell, like the
Yeah.
haunted house, like with the Martin Short guest starring last season, and then like there's that one Halloween episode where he's trying to sell that weird old house, and like Claire's trying to
Mhm.
like haunt it, like scare him.
Yeah.
Great little
But
bits.
yeah,
Or when
we
he
see a
gets
lot of
locked out of that
Claire.
open house and he has to climb through the window, like just great little Phil bits like that. He's so good at.
Yeah. And we don't really get much of him at work. We get a lot of Claire at work, which I guess is like what they're trying to highlight again, that type of feminism does creep through. Making she show the strong woman at work,
Oh
and
yeah,
Bill is just being quirky and weird,
yeah. Is this
even
the
though he
episode where she
works.
has to drive that truck or whatever?
Yeah. That happened this episode. Yeah, Claire has to drive a truck to fulfill orders. Yeah, again, just that, she's not just an executive, she can also do the physical labor as well.
Yeah, and of course is insecure about it and has imposter syndrome and blah blah and it can't ask anybody to do anything for her, like delegate from like a CEO position because it's like, oh, everybody's incompetent but me. I can't have anybody drive a truck. I'm the CEO, but I'm driving the truck of this successful closet business up like out of state or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, just yeah, uh, whatever. I don't know if that's the same episode or not, but still,
Yeah, it is.
um, yeah, it is because Phil's calling her from on the road while he's like failing at this his like rugged camping outdoor thing, which I guess this was also the rise of like people doing that on YouTube, right? Like going camping and filming themselves and outdoor boys, things like these big YouTube channels that blew up over the last decade. Just doing outdoor content for YouTube, and then some of them got big. There's other ones that aren't as big as you outdoor boys and stuff, but they do the same thing, like camping, hunting, fishing, kind of amateur videos that people like to watch on YouTube.
Mhm.
I guess that was the beginning of it, and Phil was like trying to do something like that. Episode 10, No Small Feet. Here's where we have the fucking internet psyop. Everybody psyoped into this internet foot fetish bullshit.
Yeah.
Where Luke is selling pics of Alex's feet for internet weirdos.
And it has been mentioned before, like I think a few seasons back. Uh, you know, Haley was like, there's some guy at school that was really into her feet. She just mentions it, like, so this foot fetish thing has always been in the background, but now it's like there was there were businesses popping up where it was
Right.
just people selling their shoes that they sweated in, and people wanted, they want to know how long you wore them, and it was all this weird stuff that like I've never met anyone that in real life that's been into that.
Yeah, dude,
Um,
absolute freaks that are
yeah.
ordering that type of shit. Dude, and then this was only a few years removed from the OnlyFans craze in like
Mhm.
2019, 2020 when that creeped up. And then you had reports of like these girls selling farts in jars and stuff. Like it's just
Mhm.
sick shit that
Bath
like,
water,
yeah,
people selling
bath
bath
water.
water. Yeah.
I mean, these people are like absolute retards. I mean, I just don't know how else to put it except that like I don't believe any of the bullshit of this like all these people sigh up themselves into these weird sex fetishes and then are like, whatever. They like pretend that it's real. It's like, no, it's not real. Like, it's not hotter to like smell this person's stinky fucking shoe than it is to like have sex. Okay. Like, it's
Yeah.
not hotter. Like, I don't know
But
what these people are
I
saying.
do enjoy how they show Luke and Alex, like the way they just kind of like really enjoy like scamming these people. Like they just
Yeah.
know it's ridiculous that people will pay for it. And
Mhm.
yeah, Luke is sending messages like, "Oh yeah, my piggies were really sweating in this one today," like, to try to get people to buy him. And he's like smelling Alex's shoe, and he's like hitting all the right notes. Ship it.
Yeah. And then they're like, oh, they need variety. So he like shaves his legs to like put his shoes and like pretend they're like women's legs to like,
Yeah.
which is a good gag.
Yeah.
Also, I think was this the episode where like Pritchett Closets gets nominated for some dumb Oscar award in Europe,
Yeah, some sort of yeah, award, European award.
and Jay is like all like miffed because he's no longer the CEO, so he's not getting the credit. I noticed, was that an Al Bundy photo? At least it must have just been like an old headshot of Ed O'Neill if it wasn't, but it is like a brief moment where he walks into the Pritchett Closets and there's like a portrait of Ed O'Neill as a, much younger in like kind of the Married with Children age or maybe even younger, like almost headshot of him. And he's like,
Mhm.
oh, there you are, buddy. Like kind of he just walks past it. But it's like, I almost thought I was like, is that an Al? Does it just look like Al Bundy because it's younger Ed
I
O'Neill?
mean,
And
I
it's
think it's
just
just
like,
yeah, younger at O'Neill.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it would have been
But
cool if they put like yeah, something from Married with Children to put in there.
yeah, if you see the blue shirt, like the blue button-up shirt, then it's Al Bundy. Without it, it's just Ed O'Neill.
Yeah, like his old headshot or something when he was like a
Yeah.
young actor. Uh, James Vanderbeek guest stars
Oh
uh,
yeah, it's
as Bo.
Calhoun or Bo. Yes,
Yeah.
Bo. Cal's the son.
uh, and honestly, I mean, obviously James Vanderbeek, R.I.P. But
Mhm.
whoa, they could have had anybody play that role. But I guess it was kind of that nostalgia baiting with having James Vanderbeek come back. I mean, what has he been doing? Everybody just knows him as the Dawson's Creek guy. Did a couple movies post Dawson's Creek, but nothing huge, and has just kind of enjoyed
Mhm.
his royalties, I guess, since then, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. I guess there when he had cancer, and I guess there was something about how he I don't know, all his money was gone or something, and they like because yeah, I mean in Hollywood it's make or break all the time, and then you could fortunes come and fortunes go. But
What was the movie he was in? That was Varsity Blues.
yes,
Was
Varsity
he that?
Blues,
Yeah.
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, because he was the main
Yeah.
quarterback in that, and that was post
Yeah.
Dawson's Creek. He was the huge
Mhm.
heartthrob, and yeah, yeah, I
So
forgot about that.
I mean,
Great, great movie. Oh my gosh,
yeah, and I think they kind of maybe took that kind of country, just
right.
good looking,
Nostalgia.
yeah,
It was
and
coming back. It was all this nostalgia for times that used to be.
mhm.
Um, But whatever, it's fine for the show. There is a joke about his granddaddy's bayonet or whatever.
Yeah,
Cam's granddaddy's bayonet that he like sold years ago.
Grandpa Stonewall or something, Stonewall
And like James Vanderbeek's like
Tucker.
he's like old Stonewall Tucker needs his bayonet, and he like hands it back to him. And
Yeah,
then Mitch has this joke where he says, "Oh, Stonewall, I'm guessing his statue is no longer in the park." Uh,
yeah. And this was the
and
time when they were taking down those statues.
that's what was happening culturally, and everybody already pretends that that was over, like that never happened. They still pretend that. I always, yeah. I mean,
I mean,
people,
was
I've talked about it when
Charlottesville?
it was happening.
Was Charlottesville after this or
I think
before?
it was post-Trump, so I think that was like late 2016 post-election. There was some protest in Charlottesville when
Okay.
some that guy drove his car.
So this would have been, I guess this would have been late 2017.
And this was the craze of it,
So yeah.
where we have to remove all these statues.
Hmm.
And it was one thing, I always say this is one thing when we started removing Confederate statues, but went well beyond that. We were talking about removing Ben Franklin, Columbus, all of these statues that were getting pulled down. Thomas Jefferson's statue is no longer in the New York State House, one of the state houses that he helped build.
Hmm.
His statue was too offensive for some, one or two people, I guess, so they had to remove it. So it's not just these Confederate, old Confederate generals or something.
I
But
mean,
I was
it's
just, no, please.
so, well, I mean, now it's like you have Cesar Chavez is being, removed, like
Oh,
statues, names,
why did we ever
everything.
have
Yeah.
statues to that guy in this country? I have no idea, but
And it's like, what, dude, if Sylvester Stallone ever gets accused of anything, man,
right.
the Philadelphia Art Museum is going to be
Yeah.
it's going to be out a very big tourist attraction.
Uh, Well, I mean, one, it was because everybody knows that the statue stuff was fake. It was fake. Nobody walks through a public park that they've walked through their entire lives and sees the old general sitting on a horse. Like most of the time when I would walk through, like I grew up in a city that was like an original American city. It's old. There's a lot of statues for shit that like I have no idea. Walk past it and like I don't even look at the plaque. Okay, like I don't even know. So everybody's like, I'm deeply offended. No, you're not. You're making it up. You're inheriting this thing that you're copying from the social media timeline, and you're
Mhm.
pretending that taking down this little piece of bronze is somehow making up for like some huge historical thing that like can never be made up for. So it's like, okay,
Mhm.
it's bullshit. But that joke in particular, it was moderately funny when Mitch said it in there. That's why I wrote it down. But it was also this thing where I wanted to make a point about the woke jokes starting to
Mhm.
happen. And there were little bits of this already happening, but it's always this implied self-referential thing in the joke, where it's the woke jokes I wrote start this season like, but the punchline is always this kind of self-referential remark about how not being woke is the joke, right?
Mhm.
The joke is that, oh, you're not woke.
Yeah. Like, yeah, you're laughing at the person who isn't woke. Like
Right,
you're laughing
exactly.
at someone who admires Stonewall Tucker, right?
Yeah, or if nobody rioted to pull that one down, and it's still up, well,
Yeah.
like, how stupid that is, right?
Mhm.
That's the punchline. And again, I want to be fair because clearly, I mean, maybe the writer had that in mind, but I think they were just trying to make a joke that was timely and, within the kind of current culture that they were writing in. But still, it's there. It's the kind of the woke jokes are starting, and the punchline is always a self-referential, not being woke is the joke. Because if you were smarter than everybody else or you were more informed, you would know that woke is the correct, absolutely flawless way to go about it. And that's just, being implied through a small little way like this. Again, I don't want to overemphasize it, but it's there, listeners. So,
Yeah. I mean, all this stuff was like, you couldn't acknowledge anyone's like being courageous and standing up for what you believed, even if you were fighting on the Confederate side, like, oh no, all those people were bad, they were all racist, therefore we should erase memory completely. And that was,
I mean, it got so far. I remember people that were taking down Ulysses S. Grant stuff
yeah,
in parts, and he was a huge abolitionist. He
yeah,
literally inherited slaves and freed all of them because he believed in abolition. And like we're taking down his statue, the guy that
mhm,
won the war for the end slavery side. We're taking down his statue now too.
yeah.
It's
It's because it's everyone wants to act like, oh well, no, they should have like they should think that African Americans should be treated equally. And it's like,
right,
well, a lot of abolitionists didn't really think that. They were just against slavery, but they didn't necessarily, want to be surrounded by a lot of black people. The opinions on black people back then still like by no means were like anywhere comparable to what they are today. Like everyone still held these opinions that were like 200 years old because
right.
that's what society was like back then.
And just like everything else, I mean, I've said this before, and regular listeners have heard me say it, but it's just if you read some of those writings, and the writings exist, we can go back and read some of the stuff that Jefferson wrote, Franklin wrote. These guys were not shy about sharing their opinions about politics, all right? Like they have it all recorded. And yes, they didn't end slavery and they were dead before it ended. But if you read this stuff, particularly post when the country was founded, if you read, they started to think about how can we call ourselves, a free nation when we have people in chains. The kind of the logic was starting to break with that. And again, I'm not saying that they were, everybody's, black people's best friend. They were not, right? But like
Yeah.
this was the slow beginning of the abolition movement. Was the intellectuals at the time were starting to reckon with the illogical thing of how can we call ourselves a free nation when we have people in chains, kind of thing. And then 50, 60 years later, you have that happen. All right. So it is kind of, again, I don't want to give them credit they're not due, but I think if reasonable people can look at the history and understand it from a better perspective than like, what the woke was trying to do with it.
Mhm.
It's much more complicated than we like to pretend. Again, I'm not diminishing the suffering, but just, what are we supposed to do about it in the 21st century here? Like what the
Yeah.
fuck are we supposed to do about what happened 200 years ago? We can't do much about that. But that was just starting. It was in the air. It was in the culture. Whatever. Listeners get it. Episode 11. That he said,
Can we
no, no,
take
yeah,
a
please, yeah, yeah,
break real
yeah,
quick?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right,
Go
I'll
for it.
be right back.
Episode 11. That he said she shed. Uh, this is an interesting one too because it was becoming a thing. The she
Mhm.
shed stuff was like a thing. And I get it in California where space is limited and housing is expensive. Building a casita, a guest house in the backyard is normal out there in SoCal, right? Like most houses
Mhm.
come with a guest house just because everybody's desperate for more space and you can only kind of build in your backyard because of like all the
Yeah.
rules and stuff. But then it was like this kind of, again, I don't want to make a subtle point about just like a lot of the third and fourth wave feminism that we've been living through that sparked a lot of this kind of backlash here. It's 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 just copying the kind of uber masculine thing and like saying it's now female. So like, a man cave is now like a she shed or something, right? Like a
Yeah.
woman, like kind of something like that. We're just kind of repurposing what men did and
Mhm.
then, pretending that you
It's
need it now because we're equal or whatever.
it's the oh, you're making a Hercules TV show? Well, how about Xena Warrior Princess?
Right.
It's like, yeah, yeah. You
And
need, yeah, women need to take over that space for themselves too. Men can't just be the only ones having it.
yeah, she's like, I need to
Mhm.
have an unwinding space.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's where I noticed, and this one I was like, man, Haley is barely in this season. And maybe it
Mhm.
was because maybe the actress was having some medical issues or whatever it is. They just wrote her out for a few episodes.
Mhm.
But she does come back towards the later episodes there to play more of a role. Cam has to go to therapy in this episode, of course, because he found out his dad had like a year-long affair when he was a little boy and like lied to him and said he was away at the war. So Cam, of course, has to go to therapy. And the way the therapy is depicted, almost like the therapist is kind of conniving in a way, like giving Cam all this praise and then giving Mitch all this. Well, we need to work on that, don't we, Mitch? Like kind of,
Yeah.
yeah,
And the way Mitch just starts to talk in that therapy speak once he's around the therapist, and Cam is like, wait, where was this? Where's this type of speaking at home? Like you don't have this much patience and thoughtfulness when you're speaking with me, but when we're around the therapist, it's like you become like, I'm listening, I'm present, I hear what you say.
right.
That sort of yeah, that sort of way of talking, which oh, it's even more annoying now. Like people with their mindfulness and their
Yeah.
self-care and yeah.
What really bothers me about stuff like that in therapy culture is that type of thing where you have a mediator, let's say couples counseling or something, and they'll give you like some thing that's like, this is how you're supposed, a proper way to communicate so you can hear, I'm present, I'm listening. and you like that works when you have a therapist mediator, but like it's
Mhm.
so impractical when you're in the middle of an argument, like let's say as a couple or whatever it is, that you're like it doesn't, that all goes out the window. So it's not like, it's just so impractical to be used when you don't have like a mediator that's saying, okay, don't talk over each other, let the, kind of thing. It works in one setting, doesn't, correlate to another setting. And it's funny that they make kind of a joke about it, and like Cam it works in a way where Cam is supposed to be, as he often is, the kind of country boy who doesn't like therapy, doesn't want to discuss his emotions in that way. And then they show him kind of going through the stages of grief and like realizing, like coming out the other side and be like, oh my God, I love him even more now. And the therapist is okay, you're done, all
Mhm.
done. Uh, and he picks
Yeah,
up the
so
candy dish. Yeah.
yeah, it does kind of like prove his point that like, oh no, like the way country folk handle it is different. These city folk need therapy, you know. Um, this is also the episode where it's kind of weird, and they do some sort of jump the shark things with uh Joe in this one, but like this is where he starts to play golf.
Oh,
Jimmy
right.
takes Joe to the country club, and apparently he's just a natural at golf.
Yeah.
So he enters in this tournament. And it's just they make him to be like, a parody of like an angry golfer, just like every time he misses a putt, he like slams his putter on the green, attacks people for, being in his line of sight or like making noise while he's driving. Yeah, and it wasn't awful, but they kind of go to some weird places with Joe. And this was one of them where I was like, it's a little odd.
That and this was the Trophy Kids era culturally. The documentaries, I think Peter Berg did that Trophy Kids documentary, I think 2014. And it was just starting to be about, the parents that are like psychopaths about their kids doing sports, Tiger Woods' dad or, like where you're not allowed to do anything else except play golf. And that's why you became a great golfer because
Yeah,
your father literally like abused you to like be a golfer. Like when he was 4 years old, he like forced you to, you
that's
know,
right. I didn't think about that. Yeah, this is like very much a Tiger Woods thing.
yeah. Uh, I mean, a lot of them, a lot of those freak athletes, they start very young, but it's also just, oof, comes at a cost, man. Yeah, it comes at a
Yeah.
great cost. Uh, Manny ribbon dancing,
Oh, yeah.
that's just like thrown in there.
uh, yeah. I don't know if they should have done that. That's like just a little too gay even for him. Like it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
And the fact that it was like never a thing before, and it
No.
just kind of like shows up for like one little joke in the show.
Well, his teacher that he was dating, she was his movement teacher.
Right. Because he's like a theater major. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, that's a little weird, but they didn't really get too much into what that entails.
Yeah. Yeah. There were a few that like, yeah, like I didn't have many notes on. Uh, and after that, we went into the episode 12, Dear Beloved Family. It was around this time, 12, 13, when I was like, oh, wait, we'd have no Christmas episode again.
Mhm.
Uh, but Dear Beloved Family, that's the surgery bear. Uh, where I was kind of like, what the fuck? Surgery bear.
Yeah. Yeah, Phil in the hospital again
Yeah.
for a gallbladder this time. Yeah, he wants his surgery bear. Yeah.
Uh,
Again, they never brought up like this whole thing with stuffed animals, and it was just when Claire walks into that room and there's just tons of stuffed animals and they're
yeah.
all bears and different things. It's like where was this ever? Like they're just like they're really stretching for ideas.
Uh,
Um,
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And whatever, it's, 9 seasons in, 24 episodes a season. The last couple have been 22 episodes. That's a lot of original content you have to create,
well over 200.
Yeah,
episode.
that's a
So,
lot.
yeah, over 200 at this point. So,
And being a writing podcast, we understand listeners that like writing is difficult and that's
mm,
a hard thing to do, and those writers should be given credit for, even coming up with something like this. But yeah, it doesn't quite fit. And that kind of always happens with shows that go on long enough. Yeah.
mhm.
Certain things jump the shark, certain things that don't quite make sense, but they're just there for the joke in that specific episode and then die away. I think there's even a brief mention at one point of like they reference back to Gloria's ventriloquism, which was like one little thing in one episode like 4 or 5 seasons ago, and they
Yeah.
just like bring it back up. Whatever, little self-referential thing. But yeah, Fred Savage guest stars
Ah,
as that
yes.
massage therapist.
Yeah. He directed an episode earlier this season too.
And I
Um,
think he directed a
he
few
directed the
last season.
third. Yeah, he directed one last season. Yeah, he directed the third episode this season. But
Nice.
yeah, he comes back. Yeah, uh, I guess Mitch is the person that Mitch would marry if Cam died.
Manny
Just 'cause
dyes his hair like Eminem.
oh yeah, I honestly, yeah, I'm trying to think what it was like back then, but it didn't look that ridiculous.
No, it didn't. And
Like
this
they
was
were trying to play
also
like it.
culturally, this was happening. I
Yeah.
remember I think it was maybe a couple years after this, but I just remember all these online commentators all
Mhm.
started having bleached hair.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the H3 stuff, that guy bleached his hair, like all of this weird shit. Like, I'm just like, why is everybody bleaching their hair? Like, like maybe it's nostalgia for that time of like the Eminem early 2000s when everybody was doing it. But I don't know. There was just something that happened in internet culture around this time where everybody just started dyeing their hair, like bleaching it like Eminem.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, his hair didn't look like crazy. It's not like he got it like colored like striped or something or like had
And for like a
cornrows or
college
something.
kid, like dyeing their hair isn't like the craziest thing either,
Yeah.
like he's supposed to be like a freshman in college. Like,
Yeah. Like he's got like a short buzz cut. Like
yeah.
uh, it works. Um but yeah, no, this didn't really have much
Me
for
neither. Yeah.
there was oh what was I gonna mention with this one? Oh, the Phil gallbladder thing does work because it does provide a lot of funny lines. There are like funny moments in that. So maybe, you can sort of keep that sort of storyline just because it at least provides moments where Phil can like really do his thing. And
Yeah.
there was one line he had where he's going into surgery and he's like, "Ah, they're gonna shave me," or something like that, right? And Cam and Mitch are like, "Oh, we can't let that be the last thing he says if he dies." And so he says, "Phil, we love you," and Phil's like, "I love you too. They're gonna shave me," and then Cam and Mitch are like, "Well, we tried." Yeah, there are, you know, yeah, there are funny moments. It's just, yeah, plot wise, they stretch. Like, oh, let's put Phil in the hospital again. Like two
Yeah.
episodes after we did it, like it
Yeah.
gets a little redundant. Yeah.
Yeah, he has a bit about the Ivy. He calls you, this is my new friend, Ivy. Like, can we take Ivy home with us? Episode 13, In Your Head. And this is the episode where we get introduced to the Gwyneth Paltrow parody because Haley gets another fashion job and she's working for Nerf, this kind of spoof on Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop, uh, which I have thoughts on as it carries on throughout the season here.
Yeah.
Uh, my thoughts on the Nerf stuff are mostly it's almost a little too hard. They go a little too hard in the woo woo side of it to make it's almost too hard to where the jokes don't land as well because they're parodying almost too much. Uh, it makes it so goofy and unbelievable that it kind of misses the mark, I think. And that becomes a bigger thing as you go on in the season here with like very specific examples of like little, holistic health style
Mhm.
things that, yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow would put out with Goop, and they're kind of doing that. This is also where we have the first election night reference
Mhm.
with Cam and Mitch. Because they're like some friend they met in Europe or something stays with them and opens up their like most expensive bottle of wine. And
Yeah.
they're talking about how they were saving it. And Cam's like, we almost opened it twice before. He's like, once early on election night, and then when we thought La La Land won Best Picture. So two debacles that they referenced during this time. So 2016 election, and then of course the La La Land losing to Moonlight for Best Picture with the debacle on stage.
Mhm.
Uh, that's it. Nothing more than that. Just, little reference to that about the election night.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
I don't really have any. I didn't have too much for this one.
yeah.
Honestly, yeah. Again, as we were talking about before, the show starts to lag in the middle
Right. This is the one where
of the
Luke
season.
goes missing or something. And like Mandy's
Yeah.
like, oh, we got tacos in a sketchy neighborhood. And it's like just some like gentrified part of LA
Mhm.
or whatever. But dumb Phil has a great line, a couple great lines, but the one I wrote down was when he's like, no, no, no. When a dumpy man sees a sexy skirt, he's got to get in it. Wait, no, that's not what I mean. Like, he was like, just, that's a great Phil line. But of course, it's like, oh, wait a minute. It's like him coming out wrong. It's sounding like creepy. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, this is when the lag starts. Because then I think even after that, we have the Valentine's episode
Yes.
written in the stars, and they really lean into the role playing thing with Claire
Mhm.
and Phil.
And
And
then
but
they expand it to Jay and Gloria,
yeah.
which is I do like that. I do I do like that part because it's very believable. That they think she's a prostitute. It was great.
Yeah, and of course they have this role playing where like Phil and Claire are doing this elaborate role playing of like the 80s and like these like costumes. But
Mhm.
they don't bring back Clive Bigsby or Juliana. They only mention Clive Bigsby once, and then Phil has like one line as Clive Bigsby like on the phone. He's like, "Hold on, let me call my guy, Clive," and he like gets on. He's like, "Hello, this is Clive." Like, yeah, just funny. That's the
No,
only
because
mention of it.
they I guess they really did kill Clive like in that last episode,
Yeah,
Valentine's episode where yeah, Juliana was being like sloppy and showed how she wasn't very classy and Clive couldn't deal with it. So yeah, they have these like 1980s characters.
yeah.
And they have
They're driving like a T-Bird that they rented or something. Like,
yeah, it's good, but they there's a plot where Joe is in love with Claire.
yeah,
Again, another jump the shark moment with Joe. Like I don't know. I feel they could have given him something a little bit better, a little bit more believable. Like this
yeah,
idea that he's like trying to lock Phil out of the house and like he's putting on sexy music to try to like woo Claire. Came off as a little creepy. It was a little like not believable. I don't know.
yeah. Especially when you know that person's like your aunt slash like half sister.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, that's weird. But also, yeah, but like you said, it would have worked better if it was actually funny, but like it wasn't that funny. It was kind of like, oh, little boy, kind of
Yeah.
cute, but like it wasn't like the joke wasn't quite there. So you could forgive it if it had a better joke, but there just wasn't. And then it's like Phil, like, I'll talk to him. He's like,
Mhm.
well, you see, what it is he's like, I just, whatever. Again, emasculating Phil in a way. And then this episode is also the catalyst for this is Haley's new boyfriend with the genius professor.
Oh,
Also the cool genius professor because he's cool too on top of
yeah.
being, yeah,
And yeah, Arvin.
yeah. The cool genius. I don't know if anybody's met like a physics professor like literally of that caliber. They're never cool or funny. They're
Yeah, no.
never that way because they're like hyper obsessed with their field and they're total dorks.
And he's like kind of like he's not like great looking. He's like a little
Right.
weird looking, handsome, but he can get away with it because he's British. So they're allowed to like look a little goofy, you know?
And they make it work with kind of the tweed professor look. Like he has like the
Yeah.
bow ties and like a suit and yeah, it works. Uh, but yeah, they have to kind of put that in there. That's when they start, like Eric mentioned at the beginning, with the Haley and Alex kind of juxtaposition,
Mhm.
where and they make Haley was is obviously in love with this professor of hers and worships him as, not just like somebody who she views as a future colleague, but like somebody who's like she can learn from and like is in awe of his work and genius.
Mhm.
Haley has no idea, doesn't know who he is, interrupts his lecture, and like, they end up dating because of it.
Yeah. He says to her, I'm gonna marry you, like in the
Yeah,
future.
yeah.
That's like one of the first things he says to her. Like,
Borderline cheesy,
yeah.
works in the episode, but yeah, I was thinking to myself, like, whew, what a pickup line, especially from some physics nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said there are forces in the universe that we can't explain, but we know they're there. Yeah, and then we have Spanx for the Memories, episode 15, which I thought might have been the weakest episode of the whole season. Where
Uh,
this is the one where Jay
yeah.
thinks that she's talking about Joe's behavior problems with a friend, and Jay thinks she's talking about like her and his sex life and how it's like needs to be spanked. Like she's like, maybe he needs to be spanked, and like he's trying to spice it up and like spanks her, and she's like, what the hell's going on? It reminded me a little of the Along Came Polly uh, with Philip Seymour Hoffman,
Yeah.
where he's, when I'm making out with a girl for the first time, so I just like to give her a little spank. He's like, nothing much, nothing crazy, just enough to say, hey, I'm your daddy. I'm your daddy. Like, and then, Ben Stiller tries it and it's awkward because he like tries to spank her and he's like, yeah, same type of thing with Jay trying to spank his gorgeous wife.
Yeah,
And
it
that
all
becomes like some elaborate thing, confusion that I was like, weak.
yeah, it all hinges on him mishearing what she's saying and over the phone. Right.
Yeah, classic kind
So
of sitcom setup, but then it just doesn't land. Like, it's just not as funny as some of the previous ones they've done in that, classic sitcom style.
mhm.
The best part of that was the piano gag with Cam and Mitch. I thought that was like the funniest part where they had like Mitch got like a new job where he's going to make a lot of money. And so like Cam went out and bought like a baby grand piano.
Mhm.
And people that know anything about pianos, those things are like 40 grand, like minimum, like if you're
Yeah.
buying it new. Uh, so it's a very expensive thing to buy. And then we
Yeah.
can't afford it. They have to send it back, and that's funny. That was the best part. And then Claire like jumping on it, trying to be dramatic, and like it just collapses because they all those boxes.
The, oh, what was it? Yeah, and so again, back to Mitch's job. So it sort of keeps evolving because I think before this they mentioned that he was like a divorce lawyer. So I don't know. He went from working as some
Environmental lawyer,
kind of environmental or nonprofit lawyer to divorce lawyer to now he's working for like some, billionaire
right?
that was caught embezzling. I don't know. Do you think that was like a Bernie Madoff, like
It could have been
based
because
on
that was
something
around
like
this time that
that?
that blew up.
Was it? Was it?
Maybe a little bit before this, but it was when that kind of De Niro
Hmm.
miniseries about it came
Yeah.
because I think the Madoff stuff, I think that got found out post 2008. And then there was like a book written about it shortly after that. And then it got made into a TV series, like, a few years
Okay.
after that. And then it just became, synonymous in the culture as like the Bernie Madoff like scandal, fraud that
Mhm.
he orchestrated. Uh,
Yeah. So I guess, yeah, Mitch is working for the billionaire until, yeah, and he's caught embezzling. Um, but yeah, no, again, we never see Mitch at work. I think there was one episode earlier this season. I think it was earlier, where Cam, we see Cam coaching football that one episode, but then as a detention monitor or something like that,
Oh, right, because
in
he's
a
like
video
acting
that's
vice principal right now.
yeah, so he has to like oversee detention, and someone uploads a video of him, and he has to like the kid was like an undercover cop, like 21 Jump Street style. That was a funny plot line, whatever episode that was. But yeah, so we get that with Cam, but with Mitch, just like nothing. He's mostly at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like his job is like, oh, his job is over now.
Hmm.
Yeah, that is good. I forgot all about that with the Cam and the 21 Jump Street plot line. Uh, and then we have episode 16 called Wine Weekend. And this is where the family uses that Gwyneth Paltrow woman's, wine country home because she's like a former actress that like started this business.
Hmm.
And this is where we have Phil with the bear slippers. And they just kind of like throw it in there in the beginning, like cold open,
Hmm.
that Phil always wears these like slippers and he wears them out in public all the time and like makes jokes to people like as he's wearing the bear slippers. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, obviously it's something that Phil might do, but it just seemed like a stretch to me.
Yeah.
And it, again, the real crime is that it's not as funny. It could, if it were funnier, it would be, you could forgive it more. Uh, and this one is one of the ones where I noticed the ending is just it's almost so much going on and then everything kind of gets explained through the dialogue as they talk,
Hmm.
like everybody finds out something that like they probably wouldn't have found out otherwise, and it just kind of like it kind of spoils the joke because there's so much going on. It's almost like hard to like follow for like a minute, and it kind of makes the joke go to the wayside. Like, I mean, come on, Phil and Cam doing hip hop dancing, like
That
uh uh
that was the worst. That was really the worst one. I was just like,
yeah.
yeah, the
uh
Run DMC outfits.
and
Of
Mitch
course,
and
Oprah's house,
Gloria. Yeah.
the Oprah's house thing, and then she got that dish from Michelle Obama. I mean, it's very like of the time. Like dude, Oprah around this time, post Trump election, dude,
Oh
she
yeah.
was worshipped.
Oh yeah.
Like she was back on to being this like influential like resistance type figure. Um, Same way with Michelle Obama, who I guess
And
always was
yeah, and it was
previously.
like at this point Oprah's show wasn't even on the air anymore,
Yeah.
and it was like she had become, yeah, the American icon that she is, the kind of everybody knows it. Everybody knows her, everybody knows the name, knows what she does, like she had just become like a legend at that point. And I guess she
Mhm.
would do just random interviews with like celebrities, or like she would do like a Harry and Meghan or something, like,
Yeah.
interview,
She,
or like a big celebrity thing or whatever in like the garden.
yeah, like on the O network or whatever.
Yeah.
She would have, yeah, interviews that would eventually, CNN would be like in Oprah's new interview, and then they'd show clips of it or whatever. And it would be on the internet, like just clips of, her interviewing usually like successful women,
Right.
right, of color.
That little ending bit is great with Ronaldo during the credits when he's like video calling them from the basement.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, the candy dish that you took, she wants it back.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was great. But also, dude, like this, it was just a misstep to have Manny suddenly being like this moron detective during that episode too, where he's trying to figure out who cracked the tiara, and
Yeah.
he's just being like a moron, like because they said his performance in a play was mediocre. He's like trying to be a detective, but he's just suddenly an idiot. Uh,
Yeah. No, yeah, he was playing Hercule Poirot, the
oh right,
Agatha Christie detective. Yeah. and yeah, it's mediocre. Um,
College play, right? Yeah,
yeah,
sometimes
and
they're great, sometimes they're like, oof, you're sitting through a friend's college play or something.
this is again where they get into more of that NERP stuff,
Yeah.
the kind of new agey uh, wellness products. So that Haley brings out the bathrobes for them, and it's got some sort of technology in it that makes your skin glow or
Yeah.
exfoliate it, whatever it is. And also, my favorite was the Tibetan squeaking hinges
Mhm.
that are on the door. Yeah,
Yeah.
Jay's like, I can oil those up for you, and she's like, Oh no, don't touch these. These are imported Tibetan squeaking hinges or something. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, they kind of really go a little too hard and over the top to where it isn't believable. Um,
Yeah, it almost is too much. And the reason it's too, the only reason I give him criticism for that is because it spoils the jokes that you could make when you're going too over the top. It makes the jokes not land as hard and it makes them not last, 10 years later when we go back and watch it
mhm,
with a lot of that stuff. And that keeps coming up. There's another, because Haley has that job, I think, until almost the end of this series. I don't remember exactly. We'll get to it. But yeah, more products come up. But yeah, the Oprah stuff was the best part. Uh, the episode 17 is called Royal Visit.
mhm,
And this was another one where the Dumphy storyline is a little hard to laugh at with everyone pretending to be smart. Because I think this is the one where the boyfriends meet each other. Alex's boyfriend and Haley's boyfriend come to lunch at the Dumphy household to meet, their daughter's boyfriends, blah, 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 and the parents. And so there's that kind of clash because yeah, Alex's boyfriend is like a dumb chud firefighter, right? And then like Haley's boyfriend is like this super physics genius that developed theories for space travel, etc. Um, but the Cam and Mitch storyline for this was, I thought, great. With Cam going to the Kansas City Royals spring training,
yeah.
and he's like
Did,
lying to Mitch so he can go out there, and he's like chumming it up with like the manager and stuff.
yeah, we get a George Brett cameo, which is
Yeah.
great.
A lot of celebrities, a lot of athletes playing themselves in this
Yeah,
season.
he does mention the pine tar gate or whatever it was.
Hmm.
That incident, he jokes about that. I was hoping they'd throw a joke in there about um was it him that drank like 64 beers or something on a flight, or at least that's always like the
The
rumor.
legend, yeah.
It was either him or Wade Boggs. I don't know, but it was one of them.
The
But
stories you would hear out of those old teams when the journalists used to fly on the plane with them and stuff.
mhm.
You'd hear so much great stuff from those journalists that like yeah would like ride on the plane with the teams back then because there was like one guy that covered the Royals for Kansas City or whatever and he'd fly with the team to and from the games.
Yeah,
Yeah. But just
yeah,
that Dumphy storyline, dude, where everybody's pretending to be smart, and then Luke pulls out those like Dixie cups,
mm,
and they're like doing trivia on these like kids' Dixie cups or whatever,
yeah,
and like that genius professor gets one wrong. Uh, but I just
yeah, and
remember, I was just my note to myself was just God, that's such an insufferable point in the culture, and I'm so glad
mhm.
we're going away from it now. But it's just man, what an insufferable moment in the culture where everybody's pretending to be smarter than they are, and it's so insufferable. It's like, yo, it's such an insecurity thing too that just that's why it's insufferable because you can't be friends with somebody that's pretending, like you can't have like a
Mhm.
real conversation with somebody or like an interesting, disagreement on a podcast if everybody's just pretending to, be smarter than they are.
Yeah, and no, it's like people can't admit that they aren't. That's why yeah, the genius professor can't admit like, oh yeah, I just like switched them up. Those
Right.
planets or whatever the answer was. Like I switched them up, mixed them, just a blunder, no big deal. But he just
Right.
takes it so personally.
Because he just got a phone call that like some Swiss like team just like disproved one of his theories
Yeah,
and he's like devastated.
Um,
But yeah, the thing is that it just undercuts the humor. That's my biggest problem with it.
mm,
But the Cam and Mitch storyline, of course, that's not part of it. So that's why that one's funnier because it's just typical kind of sitcom, trying to go to the spring training for the Kansas City Royals. It's also, I guess that's always part of the Cameron Tucker storyline is that he's from Missouri and is like, I think the actor is actually from Missouri as well, and is
yeah.
like a big Kansas City fan, so he loves the Chiefs and the Royals, and I think he even has like a box at like the Chiefs stadium or something, because of course he made a shitload of money playing Cam on TV for like 11 years.
Mm. Now,
He goes on like Rich Eisen's show a lot too.
oh, does he?
Eric Stone Street. Yeah, he'll just like show up and they'll just talk football or baseball because he's just a big, he's just a sports guy. He just loves,
Huh.
and he loves the Chiefs and the Royals most. So he'll show up and he'll have like a Chiefs hat on or something, and he'll just like talk Modern Family. He'll talk football. He'll talk whatever. And like Rich Eisen loves to have him on. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
I watch the Rich Eisen show occasionally, not all the time, but I like Rich Eisen and his show, so I'll check it out. And I'll just see clips of it. Sometimes I'll be like, "Oh, Eric Stone Street on here talking Cam and then football and like Modern Family and like yeah, whatever." But yeah, that was what I picked up from the Royal Visit one.
There was one joke when Phil was mocking Claire's intelligence. He's like, Claire doesn't understand the ending of La La Land or something like that.
Oh yeah.
That was kind of funny. Also, Luke asked the question, um, this 70s movie character has a cool hand. And Claire's like, Luke. And he's like, correct. And yeah, it just was that was at least clever, some clever writing that I saw in the episode.
And and
Also,
they've always done that. They've always had like cool little movie references that they will sneak in there, and it usually works like that. Yeah.
um, and also this is again around that time, post Trump election, where we get some mocking of conspiracy theories.
Yeah. She
The
plays into
firefighter.
the Nerf thing too.
Oh yeah,
Plays into that. Yeah. But yeah, the
mhm.
firefighter
The
out Haley's like,
firefighter doesn't really believe that we landed on the moon. He
and
thinks
this
the
is the
moon
time
landed
that
this way.
Rogan was starting to do that and
Yeah,
starting to have like guests on and stuff of talking about the moon landing being fake.
yeah. Alex Jones was, getting a little bit more mainstream attention.
Well, this was
So
post Sandy Hook.
yeah,
So Alex Jones was already on the in the trial with that kind of shit. That was going on.
and yeah, so the firefighter brings up that the moon landing was fake, and Alex just looks up and says, "Dude, you just stop talking."
Yeah.
Like it was this, like, I'm a scientist, so I know better than you do.
Right.
Landing was, yeah,
We're not going
that
to
sort of whole
indulge your
like,
little things.
yeah. Oh, you did your own research? Well, yeah.
Same thing with later in the season when the Arvin, the professor boy, is introducing Haley to his parents, who are like these distinguished professors. That's how he was raised, and like she works for Nerf, the Goop spoof company that does a lot of probably wacky things that aren't proven, etc. Vagina candles, all that kind of shit that like they were doing at the time. And he's like
Mhm.
embarrassed, to admit that his girlfriend like works for this thing because
Mhm.
conspiracies without evidence. Source.
Yeah.
Uh, and this is just
Yeah,
that
yeah.
part of the culture coming into the sitcom. Yeah, absolutely. Episode 18, and this is one that I was Daddy Issues, it's
Mhm.
called, and this is where Gabriel Iglesias guest stars. Fluffy,
Mhm.
uh, and his like plot line is that that's Manny's real dad, which is funny because Manny and him look a lot alike, like Gabriel Iglesias, like fat Latino guy that like yeah.
No, they look, yeah, so much alike.
And there's
Yeah.
actually a bit where he's like his back is turned and Gloria thinks it's Manny. She's like, "Oh, honey," and she like kisses his back or something. And the guy turns around, it's Gabriel Iglesias. So he's like, "Hey."
Well, I mean, the best thing was like the ending when you find out, they go through this whole like Alex fakes this um paternity test for Gloria. So, and but she just playing like a April Fool's prank on him. Like, once Manny actually thinks that Gabriel Iglesias is his father, and so does
Yeah.
Jay. She's like April Fool's, and like the way Jay is like looking at her, like, oh my God, how cruel can you be? Like, you're
Yeah.
like, every season he always finds out how far Gloria would be willing to go, like killing someone, or you know what I mean, like just how cruel she could be, and like it's just one of those things that yeah, I thought that was great. Just their reaction, and it was just like she's like, "Yeah, you guys said I couldn't take a joke. Well, the joke's on you." And it's like,
Yeah.
"What? You're doing this? You're pretending that someone else is your son's father?"
Yeah, that's dude, and I'm a person, I've always hated April Fools and I hate April Fools prank. It's the same reason I don't do well on social media. I feel is I'm just an earnest person. So it's like when people tell me things, I take it as they're being earnest with me back in a way, but like, in social media that's not true. And then in April Fool's stuff, I just hate it. I hate having my earnestness taken advantage of in that way. Like I just hate it. I hate when people do that. So if I could never be friends with somebody who's like really into April Fools and would like do pranks or whatever. I
Yeah.
just don't. I'm just like I don't care, and it's never as funny as they think it is, and it's always just. I hate that. I'm just too earnest to be dealing with that shit. I mean what I say. I don't just say things to say things.
Mhm.
So yeah, I hate April Fools and anything similar to that shit. I didn't have any other notes for that one either.
This is the episode where they have Mitch and Cam have to buy Lily a bra,
Oh yes, yes, daddy issues with that.
and they mentioned Lily's bra last season during the Women's March
Oh
episode.
right, she just
And
got one, right?
but
Yes.
like she says she got one, but now they say that she doesn't have one.
And
Like
she's
they
too
never got it.
embarrassed to ask for it, and yeah,
Yeah, and also she doesn't need it. Is she?
right.
She looks like an Asian boy. I got it.
Well, that's the thing because they're
Um,
like trying to make it. I think the actress at this point is, well above the age she's supposed to be playing. So she's supposed to be
yeah,
playing
she's
like
like
a
14 or
12-year-old
something.
girl, but the actress is clearly, well into her teenage years. And so she would have
Mhm.
already been over the training bra stage. That happens when, you're like 11 or whatever. Uh, but yeah, who knows? Again, it's a sitcom, so whatever, they can break continuity and stuff. It's not like a drama where we would expect more care and something like that, but it's still a little strange. It's a little
Mhm.
jarring. I thought it was kind of funny, and I think the way they made Cam and Mitch like kind of fumble dealing with it was funny, where they're like explaining to her, and she's like, "Stop talking!" Like so they're just like embarrassing her, like, "We're not embarrassed. We're not afraid of any of your fluids or like any of your female body." She's like, "Oh my God, stop saying this in front of my friends!" Like, so that's funny. But then, yeah, uh, she does that April Fool's right because she tries to steal the bra,
Yeah.
like puts
Now,
it in her bag.
I wrote down Jay mentions microaggressions.
I missed that.
So in he's preparing to meet Manny's like or sorry, Gloria's ex-boyfriend who turns out to be Gabriel Iglesias.
Right.
And he's just thinking how he's going to intimidate him. And he starts talking about how, oh, you can insult him in subtle ways, or, they're called microaggressions. And, you know, this term was never really around until
Mm-hmm.
around this time, where,
Here it comes.
yeah,
Direct reference to something that was going around the internet,
yeah.
microaggressions, direct reference. And we've pointed this out in the previous episodes. Listeners, again, go back and listen to those. But like, again, it's subtle, it's small, it's still a comedy first show. But then there's these little things that are popping up, and then they eventually overtake here towards the final two seasons as we get to them. But yeah, absolutely. I missed that entirely. But yeah, that's important. It's important to point out these little microaggressions. Uh, That's what pissed me off about so much of this shit too, dude. All the woke stuff, it's just not true. Like it's just a lie. Like it's like nobody's trying to like be microaggressive to you. Like it's like it's
Yeah.
just not true. You know, um, episode 19 is the called Chips and Salsa. That's when Gloria trying to sell her sauce company to the Nerf woman,
Who
and
is
that's
played by Mira Sorvino.
oh, I didn't even realize.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it really, I guess it's been a while since she's done anything, but yeah, that's her. I know she like lost weight, so yeah, she looks different, but yeah, it was her. I was trying,
Yeah.
yeah, I had to read the credits. I did not recognize her myself.
But this was the episode where I noticed that the Nerf spoof stuff for the spoofing the goop thing,
Mm,
I was just it's just too over the top. It's just a little too over the top. So once you go a little over the top, it's like a little too much, and we lose the plot of the joke and what we're trying to even parody, you know? It's
mhm.
almost again, it's kind of that self-referential. Like every line out of that woman's mouth in the show is supposed to be like make you know that she's not smart and that she's making something up or whatever, you know? It's almost too much of that where they should have had something where like one of them actually works, you know, like kind of or
Yeah.
something like that, you know, or some of the, magnesium or I don't know, something that actually does have some evidence that it also works.
Mhm.
I don't know, that would have made it a little less over the top instead of everything being ridiculous, like not based on anything, you know. Whereas like
Yeah.
a better parody would be the honest about it, where it's like some of the stuff is evidence based, some of the stuff isn't, and it's combined together so you don't know which one, and that's really the thing that tricks people, but also like, you
Like
know,
like something realistically that Gwyneth Paltrow would have sold,
right.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, and then
Because
the
everyone was already laughing at that already.
right,
Right?
exactly. It was
Everyone
already a
is,
joke.
yeah, it's already a joke. Just hearing about goop, like
And
it was a joke amongst, 99% of the population. Like no one thought that shit was serious.
and actually that's a perfect point because it's something that has hurt writing ever since internet culture and social media culture has taken over is that a lot of weak writing nowadays is just rehashing the timeline. That's why it's weak. It's not because, it's so bad or whatever. It's just because it's rehashing something that everybody has already seen on their timeline, for
Mhm.
months leading up to this point, like when a show like this would air. And it just makes it so that we've seen it before. So it's not original and it like makes for a weaker joke because of that. Like everybody's just rehashing the timeline, like entire dialogues in certain series on Netflix and stuff are just timeline arguments,
Mhm.
and it just makes the writing suffer because of that. We've all seen it before. And this is also the episode where they're just really running out of storylines for Claire and Phil. So, like, they bring back a very small storyline from season one where they
Mhm.
have that race from like 10 years ago, and they mention that it's 10 years ago. And again, it just turns into them, oh, they're too old, like, oh,
Mhm.
we're so old, and we're
Which,
upset that we're getting old. Like,
which seems so exaggerated. They both mention like, Claire's like, oh, I haven't, gone running in a while. And but like they're both in good shape and
right.
they act like, oh, they're paralyzed after like running around the block and like climbing a rope or something like that. It's like, okay, no, you're fine.
Especially Julie Bowen has such an athletic body too, like for
Mhm.
a woman, and it's like obviously very attractive on her and stuff, and it works for her. But it's just, yeah, I don't believe that like a woman like that is like out of shape or something. Like that woman's jacked for like she like
Yeah.
takes her fitness seriously. Like yeah,
And
and it was
Phil,
part of her character too in the previous seasons that she was constantly, the stay-at-home mom that jogs throughout all day,
Mhm.
does stuff like that.
and Phil with his like gymnastics and dancing and all
Right,
stuff. Like
trampoline
he
and.
was doing hip hop dancing a couple episodes ago. Like, yeah, I think he can run a couple blocks. Like, yeah, it's ridiculous that they're not in shape. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just unbelievable in that sense. And it just, and again, because it was kind of a rehashing of an old storyline, and okay, you can do that if it's funny, but again, it's just not as good. It just, the
Mhm.
jokes weren't there for it. So it felt like they were just trying to find something for Phil and Claire to do that episode. While like
Mhm.
the real stuff was about the chips and salsa, yeah, the salsa being sold to Nerf, and even the lines they give to Haley during that scene during the negotiations when she has the rash, she gets a rash from eating Gloria's salsa, the
Yeah.
Nerf woman, and Haley just has this line where she leans in, she's like, "Hey, just by a chance, do you believe in Western medicine at all?" Because she has like a
Mhm.
rash, right? And the joke is that she's a fool because she's denying Western medicine, right? And smart people, even Haley, understand that like Western medicine works. That's why
Yeah.
people use it. It's evidence based and all of that. So it's just a cheap joke, right? Just a cheap little joke. And again, it's that self-referential. Well, are you big enough idiot to
Mhm.
not believe this? Or something like that. And it's just weak writing for a sitcom. It's an internet joke that people would make. But then you have
Yeah.
a room full of highly paid writers, and all of a sudden that joke's coming out on a sitcom. Nah, too easy in my.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, it went along with the whole Big Bang Theory, young
Yeah,
Sheldon shit that
that
was going
Arvin character kind of fits that
on.
too. I was thinking,
Yeah, yeah, and I
yeah,
mean, so Silicon Valley also like
yeah,
plays. It's just like people who are like, no, I need facts and data and evidence. And if you're the type of person that knows about facts and data and evidence, then you're smart. And if you go off of anything else, then you're stupid. And that's kind of what like anytime this show goes into that area, that's what it's based on. You make fun of the conspiracy theory guy. You make fun of the the woman who believes in holistic medicine. So yeah, and I mean that's where all this was starting.
yeah. And
Then
that
Neil
was just the
deGrasse Tyson
yeah,
was starting to like become like really popular at this point, going on talk shows and like talking about Marvel movies and how they're not. That's not very scientifically accurate. And it's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Just let
yeah.
people have fun.
It's about a guy that has laser vision, like yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, and that type, when you apply that type of thinking to something like fiction, particularly fantasy fiction, like a superhero thing, it just ruins the whole thing because it's not meant to be like, physically accurate according to the laws of
Yeah.
physics. Like it's supposed to be breaking those, and that's why we like it. Um, yeah, which is always a mistake to go too technical with some of the critique. Uh, Episode 20, Mother. Shelley
Yeah.
Long is back. So I guess Shelley Long's just back now. She's back in this season too as Dee Dee.
Hmm.
She wasn't for a couple seasons and then has been back kind of the last two and a half really, where she just did like a video on the season seven. But season 8 and 9, she's back in the flesh. Um,
Yeah, she
and
interrupts Cam and Mitchell naked cooking in their kitchen. Again, we get some censoring, uh,
yeah, that's funny.
which works. Again, yeah, it's funny.
Because they have like
Mm.
cooking aprons, so you don't see the front, and they like turn around, and, like the ass is blurred. It's like funny. Yeah. Uh, that monster scream in like Manny and Jay's movie as like Gloria. That was another situation where I thought it was kind of overwritten, where it's like almost so complex that ruins the joke because like everybody just finds out that the monster is Gloria or something,
Yeah,
and
that didn't really land for me very much. I was just kind of like,
you have to
I
kind
don't
of
know.
bury the lead because it buries
Yeah,
its own lead, and then when you get to the final punchline, it just is lackluster because you already know what it's gonna happen, but like so you kind of burying the lead, as they say, in a way.
and sound wise, I just don't think they did a very good job of like really showing us what like the monster was supposed to sound like
Yeah.
in there. Like it was a little hard to hear. Where I don't know, it was just I didn't really understand that joke very much.
Yeah,
Um,
that's why it's just overwritten, I think, is the real problem with it. Was that it's another one of those things where there's a bunch of different things up in the air, and then all of a sudden, everyone in the room learns something that they never would have learned in any reasonable situation. So it kind of spoils what you could do with the misunderstanding, and the trying to keep the secret. So I'm always just like, yeah, it's a writing issue when they do something like that. But whatever, this is 20 episodes in. I'm sure they were just, stretching because even like the Manny and Jay making a film and like having the premiere in their living room,
mhm.
and it's very much like college student horror film, right? 1313 Devil's Lane or something.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
called
It's,
like, you know,
I did like the fact that there's a whole plot around the kids have to like break some bad news to Claire, like they want to go away on trips during her birthday. I think that's what it was.
yeah, and
And,
Luke and Phil ruin her portrait, her
yeah,
CEO portrait.
and yeah, they got to break that news to her. But there's a window that of time between, after she gets through with her massage or whatever, that they can break the news and she'll be okay with it. But then Shelley Long ruins everything because once she sees her mom, she's not gonna be in a good mood anymore.
Yeah,
Um, so
it is
yeah,
funny
so I thought that was good.
when Phil's like taking off his jeans to put on top of Shelley Long to like hide her on the couch. That was like a funny uh little gag from Phil. And he like throws on those gym shorts.
Good line where she's saying, uh, they're asking her to sit, and she's like, "Sitting is the new smoking," and that's where there's this whole, at this like, walking, and everyone had to, again, they had to get their steps in like that previous episode. Bad for you. People aren't walking enough.
Yeah, standing desks, walking desks, right, with little like treadmills and stuff. Can you still see me?
And that's pretty much it for this episode. What's up?
Can you still see me? You froze on my end a little bit here.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
no, you're all good.
All right, good. Um, in episode 20 is also there's a little line from Alex where she says the end of men. Hope
Mhm.
you enjoyed the last 10,000 years.
Mhm.
She said, well, this is the why the end of men is happening. Hope you enjoyed the last 10,000 years. It was after Luke and Phil destroyed that portrait. And this is just,
Mhm.
the future is female slogan.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, no, it's yeah, and this was starting to happen. I mean, there was this resentment right after Trump was elected because, oh, we didn't elect the woman. It was about like, oh, they chose a man over a woman, and that sort of resentment starting to really show.
yeah, that and just like, you know, the resentment of that. And then also just like the implications of that as a cultural phenomenon, the kind of misandry, like attitude that has taken over most of feminism at this point. The reason anything bad has ever happened is because women aren't in charge or whatever, because men were in charge for 10,000 years or something. Uh, but this is, everything was the future is female, the force is female, everything is female going forward. Uh, just again, small little line that just like signifies that happening culturally. What was I think? And then episode 21, the escape room episode. This was
Yeah,
during this was
again, this
during
one
that
was a weird
escape.
one for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh no, I was just saying this was a weird one for me. Um, yeah, they are visiting Jay's sister who's sick in the hospital, but Cam and Gloria and Phil get stuck in the basement of this place. I don't know. Yeah, this episode was a little all over the place for me. Again, I don't know what was happening in the writers' room,
Yeah.
but they were just like pasting stuff together. I don't
The, f-
know.
the funniest bit was the sick sister after her stroke, which who we've only had mentioned like once throughout
Mm,
the entire series, and now all of a sudden we're seeing her and like
mm,
Aunt Becky, everybody knows her, blah blah blah. But whatever, again, it's a sitcom, we can forgive that. But like, so the best parts were, yeah, Jay trying to get that cabin code, and like, again, Mitch's is just trying to be free in front of his family or something. Is still his plot line. He
mhm.
came out, 20 years ago, and is still like coming out now. Apparently, that's still his storyline for everything.
Yeah.
And then yeah, Claire with the necklace. But I was like, okay, we have the escape room craze in this. But again, it's that kind of actually a line once Phil, Cam, and Gloria get out of that locked basement. There's something where I think Phil says it, where he says they can never know how much smarter they are than us. And he's talking about the Pritchett's, so Mitch, you know, Claire and Jay.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, damn, this fucking thing. Like, this fucking insufferable moment in the culture where everybody was so fucking insecure about who was smarter, blah, 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 who read the most books, all this And I mean, it's still going on, but it's not as bad. And I'm just like, my God, it's so insufferable to me. And just what a line to put in there as a joke.
Mhm.
And it works okay as a joke, but it's also just like, damn, like, also weird references. Like, there was a 10 points for Gryffindor as a line.
Yeah.
Like Haley made a joke because this is where she's meeting Arvin's parents, who are like professors, and he's embarrassed by her working
Mhm.
for Nerf. And she says some joke, and then the father laughs, and he's like, 10 points for Gryffindor. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, I
Yeah.
laughed because I was just like, what the fuck? Like, it came out of nowhere. I
No,
guess because
because
he's British and
yeah,
nostalgia.
and by now everyone knew about Harry Potter, young,
Right.
old, doesn't matter, all
I
those
mean, all the
references.
movies had been out by this point. It was huge. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Harry
was
Potter
all.
World was, selling out tickets every day. Harry Potter World
Mhm.
existed like at this point.
Yeah, even if you never read it or watched the movies, you still knew what that was. It had just like been around for so long and popular for so long.
And then my favorite bit in this whole thing was Haley's boyfriends showing up at the hospital.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, that was
Uh,
my favorite too.
where we have they're like, "Oh, your boyfriend's here," and then Andy Devine comes back for like a small little cameo.
Mhm.
Dylan, the same thing. That guy always comes back like once per season.
Yeah,
Uh,
and then Rain or Shine pops in right at the end.
yeah, that was great. Yeah, that was so good.
So
He has
yeah.
like the little bear with him and stuff. All her boyfriends from every season like show up. That's funny. That was great. But also, again, a sort of nostalgia slop, culturally. All of like the previous boyfriends being brought back for this one
Mhm.
little bit. And it's good, but it's also like, this was when the Marvel movies and everybody was, I mean, right before that, but
Mhm.
you know, like the universes and the what's that Batman bullshit where they brought back like Batman from like different timelines, the multiverse thing, so they can like use all the actors that played Batman historically and like bring them into the
Oh,
universe for the current movies. And
you mean for the Spider-Man?
yeah,
I
that
think they did.
Spider-Man did the
Yeah,
same thing
yes,
with
yeah,
the all, and that was more recent. That was like 2022 or 2023 when they did that. But that was starting this basically, yeah.
yeah. It's like get everyone's favorite and just put them all in there, so you can't leave
And when
anyone
the
out.
Spider-Man did it,
Everyone's included.
I appreciated it when the Spider-Man movie did it, just because I thought it was like, huh, that's kind of a clever way to just kind of briefly just make it all fit, just briefly explain away the three different Spider-Men over the last 15 years that like have all been in movies and all these different versions of it. And I was like, okay, all right. I can give him credit for that. That's a good move to kind of do it, and it made the fans happy and whatever, and it doesn't ruin the movie, but like still it's still nostalgia, slop that like the culture is, it just absolutely soaked in at this point. Um, and then the last episode, the finale, the Clash of Swords, episode 22.
Yeah, Game of Thrones parody.
Yeah, with the Comic Con bullshit, the Hero Con with Phil
Yeah.
and Mitch, which I guess this was peak Game of Thrones. This was Game of Thrones was cleaning up the Emmys.
Mhm.
This was the last couple of seasons. Uh,
Yeah. Phil has some great lines. He's going around people in Comic Con or Hero Con or whatever, and he's like, "Oh, those are great ogre teeth. Where'd you get them?" And the guy's like, I guess my parents, because they're his real teeth."
yeah,
It does. They do kind of make fun of the demographic that goes to those
right.
things. A lady walks by, and he's pretty much asks when she's giving birth or if she's having a boy or a girl, and she's like, "I'm not pregnant."
Yeah, and I honestly hate that culture. I hate the Comic Con culture. I hate the bullshit, the cosplaying. It's one of the surest signs of, people always make this argument of perpetual adolescence, and that's the real problem culturally. I think that's a huge sign of it, like one of the most
Yeah.
glaring signs of it. Um, and it's about Mitch feeling free and
Mhm.
finally accepting who he is once again, over and over again. That's his whole story.
Mhm.
Um, we also
Yeah.
have that Jane, what's her face, is back for like Gloria,
Krasinski
yeah,
or something.
Gloria's rival,
Mhm.
who has like a better dinosaur party than Joe.
Yeah. That was funny when the the
Yeah,
gay Peter Pan troupe arrived at the
yeah.
party.
Again with
Um,
Ronaldo, dude. Ronaldo
yeah.
makes a couple really funny, like shows up in like really funny ways throughout this season. We also have the John Ralphio. What's that actor's name? He plays John Ralphio in Parks and Rec. He did the Fireball commercials recently, basically as John Ralphio.
Oh,
Uh,
Ben Schwartz.
Ben
Yes.
Schwartz, who's hilarious. He's hilarious, but again, he just gives this kind of tech douchebag role. And I was
Mhm.
reminded a little bit. Did you watch Parks and Rec? Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that final season
Mhm.
that kind of goes off the rails because of this tech bullshit. Like they kind of try to bring in Silicon Valley. Uh,
Mhm.
and of course, they're doing it in this show now too. Yeah, I was just like, man, okay, another tech douchebag and like the tech offices and all of that.
Yeah, so yeah, he plays like a rival, like a different closet company, and they have like modern, like digital closets. I guess that's
Yeah,
what they
maybe
call
even
them.
like AI assistant closets before AI was like a big thing here.
Yeah, it's sort of like a Siri or
Yeah.
Alexa type thing. And then Claire Claire and Jay decide to merge their closet company with them, so compete with the technology that's coming.
Yeah.
But what I loved in this episode was Jay's reaction to them coming into the office, and he's like, they're offering to buy him out, and he's just like, "Get out!" Like
Yeah.
this is like a crazy overreaction.
And he keeps saying it like the same way every time. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, "I didn't choose closets; closets chose me."
And and
Yeah,
Ed O'Neill plays it so well. Like it's a
yeah,
classic Ed O'Neill like kind of blow up. So
and
that's what they said about
especially.
the mood closet in the 70s, and I buried them. He's like, that's the future of closets.
And they do bring in those guys are riding hoverboards.
Oh, right.
They're like something, yeah, like just those little like single wheels that yeah,
And Claire and Jay like make them fall by honking the horn or whatever, and they like laugh. They're like, yeah, maybe we could merge with this company. All these dorks.
yeah.
Uh,
And at the HeroCon, uh, uh, Phil reveals the surprise ending of the series, and I just love how like all these like nerds like meltdown. Like
Yeah.
this was the only thing I had going in my life. Now what do I do? And they're all angry and they try to
And
get him kicked out.
they're throwing him with those Chobani spheres. He's like, all these Chobani spheres, like Chobani. He's like, yeah, in season 4, they took on a lot of product placement, a lot of sponsorships.
Yeah.
Chobani spheres in this like fantasy world. But yeah, I wasn't crazy about the finale. Uh, but yeah, there were some good bits. As always, there's always like a good joke, and even if the episode isn't that great. But
I
then, yeah,
mean,
but yeah, please.
yeah, I mean, it sets it up, directionally at least a little bit different. So we know next season the closet company is going to be merging. They'll be kind of trying to do different things technologically, so that they could do something with that. I think Cam and Mitchell decided to have Cal, Pam's son, stay
Oh,
with
right.
them, right?
Right. Because she's in
Uh,
jail for like violating her parole or something.
yeah, and so I don't know I don't know if they stick with that, or if that's just going to be a summer thing and then they send him back. I don't know, but that sets up at least the potential for like a new type of storyline with Cam and Mitch. Um,
And
and
they've been teasing Cam and Mitch wanting a son for like all 10 seasons, like having another adopted child.
yeah,
Uh so I guess they just carry it on, yeah, with that.
and then Manny and Alex, I guess, go on a road trip together to Delaware. Because
Yeah.
Manny has to return, like deliver a car. I still am unclear what was going on with that, but he has to
Yeah.
deliver a
Some
car.
old lady like paid him to like drive her car to Delaware for her because she's moving or
Yeah.
something. And he is, college kid in the summertime is like, okay,
How's he going to get back?
I guess fly.
Wouldn't that cut into a lot of the money he was making driving the car in the first place?
Well,
Uh,
Jay's probably covering that ticket. Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
yeah.
I don't think Manny did anything for money ever. Yeah. Uh, but yeah, overall, yeah. And I'm again not a return to form, and not even as good as season 8, where I think a lot of like we said that lull in the middle of this season really hurt. Um, some of the obsessive references and things. Yeah, this obsessive cultural moment where everybody's insecure about their own intelligence, and then uh, yeah, that kind of stuff rubbed me the wrong way. But overall, still comedy first. Still, they're trying to put together sitcoms for the most part. But yeah, the quality's going downhill.
Yeah. No, it's always a sign when they start adding in new characters, giving,
Yeah. Pam,
um,
Pam being a character, new babies, new,
yeah.
yeah. But, it still continues.
So 2 more seasons to go.
2 more seasons, dude. 2 more seasons of this
Uh,
show, bro.
what are they going to do?
But I think we'll get there with that too. Thanks for doing this, man. Once again, lots of time spent talking Modern Family. I think we're over 30 hours now, listeners, of Modern Family content for where
Hmm.
we've gone over this. So,
Yeah. Oh, and one thing I guess we should also mention, episode 19, I think Mitchell decides to take the job in the prosecutor's office.
oh, right, right, right. Yeah.
So he eventually
Oh, the
does,
ride
and
along, the ride
yes, they do
along.
the ride
Yeah.
along.
Which
And
is funny. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, I guess, yeah, so he does end up with kind of a steady job. They don't mention it after that, but there's only, a couple episodes have that.
Yeah.
But so we assume he just, yeah,
All right, man. Yeah, and
takes the prosecutor's job.
for listeners, I'm having a baby this week, so this will be out this week, but I will give subscribers an update here. We'll see if I make it through this weekend. but I'll keep everybody posted and I'll keep going. Yeah, I mean I might do some I'm gonna release something later for subscribers that I'll explain some what I'm gonna try and do while my brain isn't gonna be functioning that well for the next several weeks at least. We'll see.
Oh yeah, I mean, enjoy it, man. Sit for the moment.
Right, exactly. So here we are.
Heavy.
Bored.
Heavy.
I am heavy, heavy, heavy.
Bored.
I may say the male is entirely hostile. No! You know,
Resources.
life, friends, is boring. We must not say so. Are you radioactive now?
Inner.
Resources, American resources.
Being bored?
Some activities are intentional, right?
It shows such a lack
Heavy.
of gratitude for life. Bored. I aspire to boredom, I
Heavy.
should say.
Bored. Heavy.
I am heavy, heavy, heavy.
Bored.
Has you the night sweats and the day sweats, pal? Pal, I do.